has got the ball in his hands.
Weekday morning 7 to 9, ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna with your weather forecast from ESPN Northwest Florida on this Tuesday. Clear the rest of the day with a wind at 10 miles per hour out of the north and 57. Tonight, look for a light wind and clear skies with a temperature near 39. Tomorrow, a high around 61 and sunshine. Thursday, quite warm with a high of 69 and mostly clouds in the early morning and then a chance of thunderstorms. This weather forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Here at Panama City Toyota, Toyota-thon is on, where you can get 3.99% APR on a new RAV4 plus 90 days until you make your first payment. Get 2.99% on the totally redesigned Tacoma, and you get $1,000 in holiday cash. Or get 1.99% on a new Tundra and $1,000 in holiday cash. Good cheer and great deals. Toyota-thon at Panama City Toyota.
Offer expires January 6th. Visit PanamaCityToyota.com for details.
Did you know that fees associated with real estate closings are virtually the same from one title company to the next? So what sets South Oak Title apart? Effective communication, customer service, expertise, and technology. If you're buying or selling real estate, refinancing a residential or commercial property, tell your realtor you want to close with South Oak Title. South Oak Title, with locations across the Southeast, including Panama City Beach, Inlet Beach, Destin, and Fort Walton Beach. Visit them online at southoaktitle.com.
Mid-South Lumber, where they treat you like family. Locally owned and serving the residents of Bay County for over 45 years. See Mid-South Lumber for all of your DIY projects, including windows, doors, siding, lumber, and millwork. Are you building a new home? Bring your contractor in to Mid-South Lumber and meet with a member of their sales team to discuss your framing, siding, windows, and doors. Mid-South Lumber, the biggest little lumber yard in Panama City. 717 West 11th Street.
Are you hungry for authentic Mexican cuisine? Then come to El Rodeo Tequila Bar and Grill, where we serve up the freshest, most flavorful dishes on the beach. El Rodeo Tequila Bar and Grill, a great location, comfortable atmosphere, and happy hour from 3 to 7. Buy one, get one free, regular margaritas and 12-ounce house drafts. And you're going to love their lunch specials Monday through Friday from 11 to 3. Plus, live music Wednesdays and Saturdays starting at 5:30. El Rodeo Tequila Bar and Grill, Thomas Drive across from the Navy base.
Are you feeling tired, weak, or maybe you feel old and cranky? If so, I have the answer. It's Max Fit Sports Nutrition with 2 locations, 23rd Street in the Coronado Plaza and in Pier Park North on Back Beach Road. Max Fit Sports Nutrition has nutritional products and professional dietary plans to get you moving in the right direction. So get off that couch and get to Max Fit Sports Nutrition now. Max Fit Sports Nutrition, where you can try it before you buy it.
Whether you're an experienced investor or first-time buyer, Beach House will provide you with top-notch service to guide you through every step of the process. We make the real estate process fun and easy through effective marketing, strategic advertising, and always a client-focused experience. From single-family homes to full-scale developments, Beach House Sales Development has you covered. Check them out at beachhousesalesfl.com or give them a call at 850-919-3500.
WPLQ Port St. Joe, WGSX. Powered by Panama City Toyota.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Pushed away and intercepted. Ball game. The fairy tale continues.
The Afternoon Underdogs are on the air.
And the breakthrough for the U.S.
4.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
What's up with you, Northwest Florida? You are now riding along with the Afternoon Underdogs, tuned in to ESPN Northwest Florida 104.3 here in Panama City and 101.9 in Port St. Joe. I'm David Hayes along with Tyler Bishop and Caveman Rick here on a beautiful Tuesday afternoon. A lot warmer, I would say, this afternoon than what it was for you Friday evening up there in Athens, Georgia.
That was cold. Like the wind started cutting through a little bit throughout the day.
Throughout the day.
We got to the tailgate at
kind of early.
7:30, I think. Friday morning, the people I went with, there's a little limited amount of free parking. They like the free parking. So, we're going to be there at 7:30. Kickoff was at 7:30 that night. I was like, I'm here for it. Let's
12
go.
12 hours, baby.
12 hours, and then, 4 hours and 45 minutes or whatever on the game time, whatever it ended up being. It was crazy because it ended like just after midnight Eastern time. So like a big thing that they do for the part of the pregame is like, it's Saturday in Athens.
Yeah.
So like they got to finish with it's Saturday in Athens because like when the game actually ended. Never been a part of anything quite like that. I got to the point at the end of the game. It was like, at this point, I don't even know. Like, I'm just ready for the game to be over. It was cool. We were on the far end of the field for the second overtime. We were on the same side as the even overtime period, so the game actually ended like right in front of me. I was on like that 20-yard line.
How about that?
That was awesome. Like,
yeah, but you got a little cockeyed view a little bit because you're just at the 2-yard line, which I think is a great view too. I'd rather be at the 20 than in the corner of the end zone.
Oh yeah,
if that makes sense.
For sure. So
then again, anywhere inside the building.
At that point, it didn't matter. Right. It was just like, it was a miserable game to watch because, like, watching the game, Georgia played so poorly the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, it was an awful game. And, like, obviously, we were lucky to even have a chance at the end to tie it up, go to overtime, all the other, like, so, like, as a fan, it was hard to get really excited at any point throughout the game because, like, it just wasn't a well-played game. Like, it wasn't like a back-and-forth well-played game by both teams. Like, Georgia just looked awful for 3 quarters.
Georgia Tech looked
very good.
Yeah, very good.
Hats off to them. They played extremely well. They made a lot of the plays they needed to make.
For 3 quarters.
For 3 quarters.
Yeah.
And then but then the second we scored, those fireworks, when I was like, let's go. You know, all the like emotion from the game, like, all right, I was pumped, ready to go. We didn't end up getting back to where we were staying till like 1:45 that night, 2 o'clock. It was a long day.
How long did the stadium stayed packed for?
I will say there's a decent amount that left. I think Georgia went up by 14 with like 5-ish minutes left. And there was
Georgia Tech went up?
Yeah. They scored a late touchdown there to go up 2. And I think, I'd say a solid like 15% of the stadium left.
Dang, have they watched y'all play football this year?
I get it, like, especially with the weather and everything too.
Yeah,
like, I thought about it.
Yeah.
I can't bring myself to leave.
No.
Like, I make it to so.
How was the girlfriend during that situation?
She was worried that I was going to be upset that we lost. Like, you know, it's like, oh, I'm going to have to put up with this guy. But she was a trooper. She was there the whole time. Like I said, we bundled up as best we could. The hot hands, little shaking.
Yeah, I love those things.
We were blowing through those bad boys all day long. But
I wish they lasted longer.
Yeah.
Like, come on, guys,
they're
get
very
your recipe
good for
together.
those periods of time when they're working. They're working well.
Then you get to a point where you're like, all right, can you give me a big cup of hot chocolate that I might, just dip my hands in the hot chocolate?
But yeah, we had some Tech fans around us, so like that just made the whole game miserable because they're all celebrating. You're like, I hate every moment of this.
Yeah.
And like, but obviously the ending was great. I was ready to run a marathon afterwards. Like, you get that adrenaline rush. And it was 8 overtimes though, man. That was something.
Have you ever been to a game that had overtime in it?
I did not. In the moment, I was like, this is my first ever overtime game. Then I realized that I was at the Georgia-Bama National Championship too at Smith out there. So
You've been to some big-time Georgia games,
I've been to some crazy. I was there at the original blackout against Auburn in 07, a couple SEC championships.
That was the first time y'all ran a blackout?
Yeah.
I remember when
jerseys.
What year was it that y'all did that against Bama for the first time?
It was the next year, 08.
Oh, it was 08, yeah.
Yeah.
Stomped y'all.
I was not there that. Yeah, I've been to a couple national championships, a couple SEC championships, but been fortunate to be at some of the game last. I was like, that may have to be my first and last day. I've never been to a game against Tech before, and that's part of the reason why I wanted to go. And I was like, what do you do from here? You can't get any better from here. So I was like, it may have to be a one and done type trip.
I mean, in Georgia Tech, just the season that they had to start it off with a bang against a highly ranked at the time Florida State team, right? Takes care of business. And what did they took down Miami 2 years in a row.
Like that, they were inches away from beating 3 top 10 at the time ranked teams. And granted, you look back at their season, they're like 7-5, and you're not. But it's like for Georgia Tech, that's and I was optimistic about Georgia Tech going into the Florida State game. I talked about the continuity. I thought Brent Key, and I still think he's a great fit for that program. Being an alum, being an O-line coach, he brings a different level to that program than Jeff Collins. So Jeff Collins made that program a joke for 2.5 years. But the progress you've seen on that side of the ball, or just from them as a whole, is great to see for the rivalry aspect of it. But
who would you say, a team that's not even sniffing the college football playoff right now, who would you say had the best season? I have a team in mind. I'm wondering if we're thinking along the same lines.
I mean, there's a lot of them, right? But I think
there really is a ton.
Maybe a lot of fans in this area may not realize how good of a season they're having at Syracuse.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, they beat Miami, so maybe a little bit more fans in this area, a little bit more aware. But, 9-3, first-year head coach Fran Brown. They had,
you're a big fan of Fran Brown as well, yeah.
Huge Fran Brown guy. He came from Athens last year. He called out Kirby Smart in his press conference right after the game. Called him and Will Muschamp out on the Jim Rome show the very next day, talking about how great of mentors they still are to him.
So more or less shout out.
Well, yeah, but I'm really interested to see, like, he was spoken of so highly at this time in Athens. Like, And he took a couple Georgia guys with him that weren't going to play, so it's not like an angry thing. But I'm interested to see how his career goes because of the respect he earned in a very short time in Athens. It puts Syracuse on my radar a little bit more so than some other programs.
Yeah.
I mean, Arizona State, they have a shot at the playoff, but they're having a fantastic year. I mean, there's a handful of programs like
Florida and South Carolina obviously have to be in that list
for sure.
as well.
For sure. South Carolina, there's people debating they should be
in the college football playoff. Yeah.
You know, if there's going to be a 3-loss SEC team, should it be South Carolina? And like, I get it, but people wanted head-to-head to matter last year because they thought it would keep Bama out.
Yeah.
And now they don't want it to matter because they think it'll keep Bama out.
Like, whatever to keep Bama out.
There's got to be some kind of consistency. So it's funny. People always want to push narratives that fit what they want to happen.
Right.
I'm all for consistency. I don't care. I mean, I care, but I want it to be consistent.
All right, Oregon, if you win this Saturday, you're out of there.
Right. Well, like in part of it, even a couple years ago,
right?
like Georgia can't move in front of Ole Miss or Bama because of head-to-head.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. So head-to-head matters then.
Yeah.
It is, you at a certain point, we're going to say, 6 weeks ago doesn't count because it was 6 weeks ago. Like, it either counts or it doesn't.
And that's where I'm at. Consistency, I think, is a hard thing for the College Football Playoff Committee to accomplish. But I would say that if head-to-head doesn't matter, then that's tough. I mean, and that's really essentially, as bad as it sounds, that's kind of what kept Florida State out of the playoff last year was the head-to-head win for Texas over Alabama. And, oh, man, and now just a short year later, you're still hating it if you're a Florida State fan. As we welcome in one of the second biggest Florida State fans that we know, Max Delight and Wildcard Delight in the building. What's going on, man? How are you doing this Tuesday?
Second biggest Florida State fan.
Yeah.
They had the same numbers in their record as last year. Last year they were 12-0. This year you just moved the 2 around and moved the 1 back. And
there you go. Hey, way to make that happen. So talking about college football playoff, continuing on with that, 100% sure that does the Ohio State loss to Michigan affect Indiana at all with their lone loss? But does that affect them at all? I'm just trying to get under Max's skin here if we can.
Yeah, I think Indiana
99.4%.
I think they created a floor for Ohio State. Like as far as people want to know how far Ohio State's going to drop for losing to a 3-touchdown favorite or dog at home.
Yeah,
a 6-6 or 7-5 Michigan team, whatever it is. Like not a very good Michigan. I think Indiana creates a floor for them. Like I don't think the committee's going to drop them behind Indiana because we just saw that game 2 weeks ago now.
Yeah.
You could argue with the extra loss, maybe they should, but I don't think they're going.
Yeah,
to.
Indiana fans are just like, oh, you lose at home to a 20-point favorite, and you move the same amount as we did on. It's. At the end of the day, they kill us.
Well, at the end of the day, part of it's whatever. Like Georgia dropped more spots for losing to Ole Miss than Bama did for losing to Oklahoma, than Ole Miss did for losing to Florida.
That was
a lot of different things.
And the worst loss that you mentioned right there was the Alabama loss to Oklahoma, no doubt.
But I think you're going to see Ohio State drops below Tennessee because by doing that and assuming there's not too much shuffling after the conference championship, you're trying to avoid, I think, the Tennessee-Georgia rematch if you can, and the Ohio State-Indiana rematch if you can.
Put Indiana in a game where they can hang, let them play Boise State or something. I don't even know if that's possible. I'm just
I wish we could move up and play Bama.
Hey, it really just depends on which Alabama you're going to be playing.
Same thing with the dogs, man.
I will say though, I do feel bad for South Carolina I'm head-to-head, no doubt.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm with you. It does stink though, because in my head they should almost. I mean, there's shoulds, what ifs.
Right.
If Lenoris doesn't get hurt, do they beat LSU? That's a huge.
I think so.
And then they do. And then they're in probably, right? As a 2-loss?
10-2, yeah.
Yeah, at 10-2.
They're right there behind Tennessee.
I hate that for them, but that's football. I mean, it is what it is, but...
The kid's good, too.
That's got to be the biggest what if. Yeah.
But if he also doesn't have, 3 fumbles versus Bama and a 2-point loss?
Oh, for sure.
Or what was their other? They also lost to...
I just hate the injuries because it's like,
that was the game with the crazy onside kick. Yeah, but see, that's what hurts them, too, is they got whooped by Ole Miss. But Bama got whooped by
Georgia.
Oklahoma. Georgia, Georgia lost to... Who's y'all's 2 losses? Alabama and...
Ole Miss by
18. That's right,
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, that was just, again,
Ole Miss is so
what Georgia's done this year is they've either shown up or they...
I think that's almost every team in the SEC this year has been that way. I mean, who's the bottom of the barrel? Mississippi State is not even really close.
They played Texas fairly well. They played Georgia fairly well. They played Ole Miss fairly well.
They played Florida for about
They've got a freshman quarterback, Van Buren, that's come in about the 5th game, I think, and he's brought a little bit of life to that program. You know, Jeff Lebby in his first year, he had a very difficult schedule. And you're Mississippi State, let's be honest. Like, you're not playing with top-tier talent, so it's going to be a learning curve to an extent. I mean, I'm just calling a spade, right? You know,
when was the last happy moment as a Mississippi State football fan when Elijah Moore did the?
Was it when Dak Prescott and Dan Mullen had them ranked number 1 for a week in the CFP? They were the first ever number 1 in the CFP rankings. Like,
no, that could have been the last half.
I mean, not the last
happy moment, but
back in the cobwebs there.
Oh man, yeah, they probably had more favorite moments or happy moments as Dak Prescott fans.
Mike Leach had some good moments.
Mike Leach did. He did, and what was the bowl? Great sound bites.
I love the video of him and Lane when they're crossing during the COVID year, and he pulls Lane's COVID mask out, and it just goes over his eyes. And Mike has it; he doesn't even have it over his mouth or nose, just on his chin. It's just like vintage. That's a one-of-one guy.
Oh man, he truly was one of one. He thought there should be 64 teams in the college football playoff.
Have you ever heard
on the Coach's Daughter show? Did a whole hour with them. That was before I started working here, talking about how it should be a 64-team playoff.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear him breaking down the Pac-12 mascots if they had a battle royale?
Oh,
how that would go? And it's like, well, first of all, does the Trojan have his horse? Does he have a sword? Does he have a bow and arrow? I mean, you got the cougar, you got the Bruin.
Yeah.
Like he goes in a 15-minute rant.
Very analytical, man.
Because he was a lawyer.
Done.
Yeah, the Beavers are probably the first one done. Well, now it's just Beavers versus the Cougars at this point, right?
So the Beavers are still done.
Hey, make them come to water.
There you go.
But
away game.
He was a lawyer before he got into coaching. Yeah. Just a different
story.
Different dude.
Smart guy.
And one of the ones that stood out to me, I believe they were playing Toledo in a bowl game. If it wasn't Toledo, it was Tulsa. And right after the bowl game, they were just the players were in the stands fighting, man. It was like Malice at the Palace, but after a bowl game. I mean, a lot of people didn't think it was awesome, but
there's that one clip where he's folding up the chairs on the sideline because his wide recievers were sitting and they started dropping passes, so he starts folding up the chairs so they can't sit down during the game.
It's like Bobby Knight meet football.
There's some amazing Mike, like you said, a one-of-one guy for the sport. But
well, Max, how was your Thanksgiving and all that good stuff? This is the week after Thanksgiving, right?
Yes.
Yes, it is. You have a good Thanksgiving up there? You were in Chi-Town, right?
Yeah. Good to be back. Missed it down here.
It's kind of a little chilly for us Floridians, but you coming back from Chicago, it probably feels great. Yeah, you got shorts and flip-flops. Oh, my goodness, man.
But, no, it's nice. I mean, I consider this place home now. So it's nice seeing family, but I don't know why I lived there so long because it's so cold. It's gray skies every day. It's horrible.
It's just horrible.
Summer can't beat it.
Yeah.
But man, that 5-6 month stretch where you don't see the sun, basically, it's brutal.
What you got?
But it was nice to get back. I got back Saturday. Got to see Indiana win 66-0.
Did you watch that whole game?
Sure did. Tip to tip.
66-0. That was I was really rooting for Purdue in that game.
Thanks, Dave.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I don't think that it would have. I mean, I guess if you do lose to Purdue, what are they, 1-10 this year or 1-11?
We would have been out. Our defensive tackle ran for more yards than Purdue.
Really?
Purdue, I saw a stat that if Purdue got spotted 34 points at the beginning of every game, they would still be 6-6.
I think you sent that.
Yeah. I can't remember if I sent it to y'all or somebody else. But it was like, they lost by 34-plus points in 6 of their 12 games.
Yeah, that's demoralizing.
That's awful.
Ryan Walton.
Cleveland Brad says that's something Max and I can't agree on. Why the heck did he live in Ohio so long? So all of your transplants that are down here in the South now, we appreciate your space. Or you being here, taking up space here in good old Florida. It is, man. It's a beautiful state, man, and we got a lot of great weather. It's hot as all can be during the summertime, but once you get to this nice little, my favorite season, if you will, probably starts late March, I would say, and then really, up until about the first week of June. It's really beautiful, but even right now, you get out and you get moving a little bit.
There wasn't a cloud in the sky today.
Yeah.
Dude, we're on island time all the time.
Island time all the time.
But yeah. Anyway, on that, one thing I liked, I meant to text you guys about it too. That I love that we did the fake punt because people were like, "Oh, Sig's just being confident." Blah blah blah. No, our punting team was so bad against Ohio State. We had to get some fake punt footage on for the play,
trying to help,
just in case. Yeah.
There you go.
I mean, hey, our D-line.
I didn't watch any of that game.
What were you watching? The Florida Toilet Bowl or the Texas game?
Both, actually.
Yeah.
Watching is loose. Watching is loose. Both games were quite boring, and Florida State just all they wanted to do was fumble, and Texas A&M and Texas was punt, punt.
A&M is we are who we thought they were.
God, that was that fourth down
Dennis
call
Green on them, huh?
was a terrible decision and an even worse play.
Which one?
The fourth down play by Texas A&M.
Yeah,
at the goal line.
Tyler owes me money. I'm just kidding.
What for?
I flipped all of my things, like every pool from Texas to Texas A&M, which was still probably the right side. They should have covered.
I felt great about Texas A&M in that game.
How many did they have?
5.5.
5.5.
But they didn't kick the field goal early in the game. They didn't kick the field goal late in the game. Like, they left 6 points on the field. All of a sudden, now it's a 13-17 game. But
do you think it was wishful thinking for people, like almost trying to will Texas A&M to win that game? Because I think people would rather see Texas. I think all SEC fans, for the most part, are just against Texas, and especially the East. I think
people in the SEC
fans
because Texas comes in and they go, "This is your big conference. We come in 1 year."
Okay, but there's also the reality of it is anyone who's been in the SEC or who's been a fan of an SEC team for a while, and you see the rundown of the teams that they've got to face, and it's like Georgia, Georgia, Texas A&M,
and I think that was probably like damning where we were like when Georgia killed them.
Yeah,
we were like, okay.
I honestly,
but they did their job. They got the dubs.
My biggest thing was I thought Texas had not, having not played in an environment. We'd seen how big night games in the SEC have been almost all year, right? I was just planning on the environment to play a bigger factor. Texas A&M played poorly. Texas executed beautifully on their first few drives.
Yeah.
And that ended up being enough points then and there to put it away. But, yeah, you look at Texas' schedule, they took care of business. Georgia didn't at times. Bama didn't at times. Tennessee, Ole Miss, everybody else.
Everyone slipped, yeah.
But, they played 6 of their 8 games versus the bottom 7 teams.
Yeah.
And, so it's funny. I'm listening to games like, oh, yeah, Texas comes in and plays the SEC championship in the first year. It's like, but they also played 6 of the worst 7 teams in conference.
And on the flip side, you're a Big Ten guy, right?
And Oregon had that same path.
Right, that's kind of what I'm getting at. It's almost like one of those things. Would you rather see someone else that's been in the Big Ten win the Big Ten, or Oregon
Over
come
Ohio
in?
State for sure.
Well, I think
Ryan Day is just.
Sorry, Cleveland Brad. We're just giving Ohio State
sorry, I mean
Ryan Day. My gosh,
man, we got.
He's better than James Franklin, though, right?
He's the Michael Jordan to James Franklin.
I wouldn't. Yeah, that is awesome. I wouldn't be as mad about it if he wasn't just such a chotch and tool. Yeah, all these years, and the Indiana game, they acted like they won the Super Bowl. It's like, dude, congrats, you beat the first 10-win Indiana team.
If Ryan Day doesn't make the national championship,
he's gone.
You think it's and Cleveland Brown was saying the same thing. I think a lot of Ohio State fans have that same sentiment. But we've also talked. I was saying after the third one, if he loses a 4th win in a row, I don't even know how you let him coach to that. Right, it would be different if Michigan came in, and they're sitting at.
There was another 1 versus 2 tie battle.
Yeah, it doesn't even have to be 1 versus 2. 1 versus top 25. You know what I mean?
I know people were mocking him last year for crying, but I mean that makes me appreciate Trump more so. I think he's so authentic, man. I love it, and you get that rivalry. He hates Ohio State, so winning that game is.
I mean,
total season.
Not many coaches at Ohio State survived losing 4 straight to Michigan. I mean, this will be his 4th straight year not winning the Big Ten.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think he's got Final 4 at least. But I mean, we've talked about this all season. What happens if he doesn't win the Big Ten? And we weren't even talking about him losing to Michigan at the time. Or you kind of threw it around as a fun hypothetical, but it was very
and who was it? It was Mike McMullen. Mike McMullen, I believe, called in last Tuesday, and because that was our last show of the week, right? And we were throwing it around, but then he was like, the weather kind of does set up for that. And my whole thinking on it was, if it becomes essentially, if it's a low scoring game, we're just going to run. And that's the other thing is Chip Kelly with we talked earlier about, we'll talk more about Florida State and their latest hire for the offensive coordinator and Gus Malzahn, right? Well, but here's my thing is, Chip Kelly, you were bringing up how Gus, was innovative 10, 15 years ago, right? As a coordinator.
Yeah.
Well, Chip Kelly was like the same thing, right? That was like 10, 15 years ago. And you would expect, to be able to adapt to like this new age and all of the weapons that you have at your disposal over there, and you're just gonna run right at the teeth of the Michigan Wolverines defense. I probably paid more attention to that game, Ohio State, Michigan, than I did any other football game, sporting event, anything outside of a movie that I watched called The Night Before, which is a great Christmas movie. I would recommend that to everyone. It's got Seth Rogen in it.
And the bolder part of that strategy is like they're missing two of their starting O-linemen for the year now. I think they're starting center and they're starting a left tackle, I believe, are out for the year.
Yeah.
So your goal is to just run it straight at guys? Like,
get it outside, man. But then on the flip side of that, and this is one thing that I brought up too, when, we're talking about Avery Johnson over there at Kansas State. And, once you put my eyes on him, this has nothing to do with Avery Johnson. It has to do with Kansas State saying, you know what, go ahead, Will Howard, go where you want to go. And Ohio State, a premier force, a premier program in the college football landscape, and that's what you're going to come up with. And then you see what Kyle McCord is doing over there at Syracuse, and it's got to sting twice as much. And man, tough. And Bill O'Brien was supposed to be the offensive coordinator, right? But then he took the job to go up there to Boston College, which, hey, another team, 7-5, doesn't look great to a lot of fans, if you will. But if you're Boston College going 7-5, I think that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. No, I always thought I respected Bill O'Brien as a hire. I just didn't know if his style would match well with Ryan Day.
Yeah,
Like when he brought in Chip Kelly, it seemed like a much better fit. Obviously, they have a history together at New Hampshire, whatever it was. But, it's just a really, again, it just goes to show you, Ohio State was touted as this $20 million championship all-in roster. And once again, we've seen a roster full of the highest NIL or whatever most touted NIL. Like, between them and Ole Miss, right? Two of the highest NIL teams probably, or perceived teams in the portal this past year. We've once again seen it doesn't matter how much money you spend if you can't get them to play as a unit. If
just
the coaching's
like
not there. Just like in the NFL, like there's the Eagles and the Dream Team. What was it, like 2010 with like Vince Young?
10 or 12, Vince Young and like Nandi Oswald.
Vince Young being a part of the super team.
Well, that was part of.
That was Vince Young. He was the one running his damn mouth. You're the backup quarterback.
Well, we've seen it with like the Washington Redskins back when Dan Snyder was the owner. Paying all the money for guys, or Jerry Jones or whoever it is.
Like, Dallas Cowboys.
Very rarely does it really seem to work out.
Yeah,
and we're seeing it play out again.
Well, there's so much pressure on you at that point in time, and then when you're not only are you putting pressure on yourself, but then everyone else is kind of relaxed off of their pressure, and there's a huge target on your back, and they want to take the money right out of you. So hey, I love it. Adam Goff says, "Tell Max IU is left out." No, we'll talk a little bit more about that. No, they've already dropped the rankings. They've got them at 14.
Yeah, for sure.
850-205-6290. When we get back, we'll be right back with
Louisville Nats.
We'll be back with your Minute with Max.
This just in. Get the latest sports news, scores, and updates from 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. Follow us on Facebook for exclusive content, behind-the-scenes action, live streams, and the chance to interact with your favorite hosts.
Stay connected. Stay connected. Stay connected.
Join the conversation on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Search for ESPN Northwest Florida and crush the follow button.
I follow you on social media.
We're always here to keep you in the game.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna with your weather forecast from ESPN Northwest Florida on this Tuesday. Clear the rest of the day with a wind at 10 miles per hour out of the north and 57. Tonight, look for a light wind and clear skies with a temperature near 39. Tomorrow, a high around 61 and sunshine. Thursday, quite warm with a high of 69 and mostly clouds in the early morning and then a chance of thunderstorms. This weather forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Panama City Beach Winery. Since 2003, a unique award-winning wine tasting experience right here in Panama City Beach. Our wines are crafted 100% from premium fruit, citrus, and berries with no added sugars, flavorings, or grapes. Delivering the true flavors of tropical Florida in every bottle. Panama City Beach Winery proudly offers free wine tastings every day. Plus, you'll love the gift shop. Wine slushies and our private events are unforgettable. Panama City Beach Winery at the corner of Joan Avenue and Thomas Drive.
Did you know that fees associated with real estate estate closings are virtually the same from one title company to the next. So what sets South Oak Title apart? Effective communication, customer service, expertise, and technology. If you're buying or selling real estate, refinancing a residential or commercial property, tell your realtor you want to close with South Oak Title. South Oak Title, with locations across the Southeast, including Panama City Beach, Inlet Beach, Destin, and Fort Walton Beach. Visit them online at southoaktitle.com.
Johnson on a drive. Oh, he jammed it with the right hand.
It's a top 10 clash at Cameron. Number 2, Auburn. Number 9, Duke.
Pettiford with 9 to shoot. Logo 3, bang! That was a dagger. Broom down the lane to the hole. Dumps it with 2 hands. Hardball dumps it. Oh, dear goodness.
Coverage begins at 7:45 Central tomorrow night on your home for the Tigers.
ESPN Northwest Florida, War Eagle.
From Tyndall Air Force Base to the Hathaway Bridge. We're live and local. It's the Afternoon Underdogs. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
We are back. This is the Afternoon Underdogs on ESPN Northwest Florida, your home for Auburn Tiger basketball. And they've got Duke.
It's a lot better than Auburn Tiger football.
Oh, man.
Well, they're number one.
No, I ain't mad at it. I just love it.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I love hearing that.
I want to be your home for Peyton Thorne throwing football.
Hey, he's gone now. Yeah, they can't hurt him. He can't hurt them anymore.
What about Hugh Freeze at the end of that game telling Jalen Milroe, like, I am glad that you're out of here, essentially? I'm paraphrasing a little bit. Jalen Milroe doesn't have any more eligibility, does he?
He does.
Oh, he does?
Yeah, he does.
But he's too high on the draft board, I think, to stick around. What do you think?
My bold prediction is Jalen Milroe is not in the NFL and not in Tuscaloosa next year.
Oh, so you think he transfers?
Yeah.
I think I saw something in the auction chat, but I wasn't able to follow along with it because you guys just...
Yeah, you got to get them boys going a little bit sometimes.
Yes, sir.
The one thing going for him is that this quarterback class is so bad.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, wouldn't he benefit for coming out? The longer you stay, the more holes they can poke in your game because of the more tape that they're going to have, and then typically you'll fall further. There's usually, if you got a little mystery there, there's a little bit more intrigue for people wanting to draft you.
I think his biggest issue is Anthony Richardson. People were banking on the inexperience of Anthony Richardson. He has started 8 games since high school.
I was going to go there.
But Milroe has started 2 full seasons now, basically. Minus 1 game last year, whatever.
Right.
2 full seasons. So you're not really banking on that because you've got so much more tape, to Rick's point. He's not as good of a passer as Jalen Hurts was, I think, coming out of Oklahoma because of that year he spent at Lincoln Riley and that different system.
Right.
He didn't get the
Lincoln
Brian
Riley,
Daboll coaching
elite.
like Jalen Hurts got. Well, I mean, he's got guys.
No doubt. Yeah, I mean, he's got Heisman winners out of it as well.
But even Hurts got the Brian Daboll coaching from his year at Bama. You know what I'm saying? There's some other influences there. And I just don't know if his draft stock is as high as people are wanting it to be. I could be dead wrong. I'm not an NFL expert by any means, or NFL scout by any means.
I would be disappointed if the Tennessee Titans took a flyer on him.
But I mean,
I love the guy. I think he is a great locker room presence. I think that he is a great deep ball thrower, and you see what his legs bring to the table. Yeah. However, in the NFL, you can't just get away with throwing deep ball after deep ball after deep ball, as what we've seen from Anthony Richardson. You've got to be able to dink and dunk your way down the field as well. And Jalen Milroe doesn't have that skill set. So maybe he goes to Lincoln Riley, and instead of going to Oklahoma, he's over there at USC, and then he can win, 5 or 6 games next year.
My prediction
going to be there?
That's an iffy question. If he's still there today, I think he is. They would have made the move, I think, already.
And that's the thing. Steve Barnes, senior writer for therebelwalk.com. We have him on Mondays, just depending on the time. Most of the time at about 5 o'clock. He brought up a good point. In this day and age, right, the transfer portal opens up December 9th, I believe, right?
Yeah.
If you're going to move on from your coach, you have to do it by week 6, 7, or 8,
it's a
right?
small window.
Yeah, you don't have much time because you've got to have a guy in place as soon as that season ends, essentially, all right, this is what we're selling to the transfer portal and to our high school recruits.
Yes and no. I mean, I get the idea, but at a certain point, you should be okay with a first year being below average as you get those guys in. It's better to sacrifice.
Depends on the tier level program you are.
For sure, but I mean, would you not rather go 6-6 with insert coach X here as opposed to 8-4 with Lincoln Riley just because you're afraid of moving on? You know what I'm saying? At a certain point, I think you have to be okay with a one worse season in hopes that it brings better season, as opposed to like holding on to a guy. Because
maybe if you're like the general manager or the athletic director, right? Because that's what your job relies on. But as far as continuing to be able to keep those recruits, you know what I'm saying? Is like, because if you bring in like, it's going to be hard to sell to these young kids that, hey, we're going 6-6. Like, our goal is to go 6-6 at USC. You know, of course you wouldn't, but they're going to see the writing on the wall as well. Let's put it this way: if Alabama, Nick Saban retires, does Alabama hire Kalen DeBoer if he's not in the college football playoff last year? If they fail to beat Oregon those 2 times, right? Do they go after Kalen DeBoer?
I don't know.
So, and if they do hire him, we lose way more players to the transfer portal based on the fact that who is this Kalen DeBoer guy? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and USC is starting to lose a little bit of their traction as a program like that. But however, I mean, I think I would like to think that that's a reality. I'm probably far off. Yeah, didn't they just get whooped by St. Mary's, right?
It was like 81-36.
Yeah, how do you score
30 basketball game?
But yeah, no, it's
like they weren't allowed to shoot from the 3-point line.
Oh, bring back Bronny.
Yeah, right.
It's a very fine line you got to play, because like we kind of saw
It's
it
tough.
we saw it with Napier until about 3 weeks ago. Florida's recruiting class was awful, and now all of a sudden it's skyrocketing because he's going to be there, because maybe some NIL money's coming. But then like Norvell, right?
And
like,
DJ Lagway, I think having a quarterback like that
he's a guy guys want to play with. But like we've seen with Florida State, like they're dropping off right now because of the uncertainty around Norvell. Maybe after next year, I don't know how true that is. But like all of a sudden, their recruiting's dropped way down. Like
so, like more decommits than commits now.
They've got a higher ranked decommitment class and like a commitment class.
Yeah.
If you were to rank them, but you know, and then like Lincoln Riley and USC, they're having guys leave. So like at a certain point, you're going to be bad whether or not you get rid of this guy or not. At a certain point, you got to rip the Band-Aid. And I'm not saying they should fire Norvell. This is more about Lincoln Riley. It just shows you like the recruiting is going to struggle if you don't have confidence in that guy anyway.
Yeah.
So like, you might as well find a guy you can try to pretend to at least have some confidence in.
Yeah. I mean, that's I agree with that. I'm just saying that I also agree with what Steve was saying. Is I think that you're going to start seeing that become the norm is what the Bears did with Matt Eberflus, like get rid of him. How excited were you about that? We did get to talk a little bit about that last week, so it was time. Yeah. Who is it still Ben Johnson from the Lions that you guys are going to be going after?
Yeah, we'll see. It's always tough with an interim coach taking on that new roster. It'll be interesting to see Thomas Brown. I mean, the play calling has been significantly better since he took over. Can he handle all the responsibilities? I don't know. We'll see. I know.
Are you thinking that that's possibly going to be?
It's way too early to tell. It just seems like he's a guy who's a no nonsense. You're going to execute.
Ryan Poles is still the GM, right?
He is.
Yeah. How are you excited about that? Do you think he still deserves a chance to? Was he hired after Eberflus was hired?
No.
They were hired at the same time.
He was before,
so he hired Eberflus.
Yeah.
Ooh, I guess you do. I guess you should get 2 coaching cycles as a GM, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess and Max would know better than me. Like, how has his drafting been? Like, are you finding some diamonds in the rough? Because I think that's where like the GM really has to earn his keep. Like, it's one thing you can hire a good coach, but like hitting on first round picks is great, but like it's that 3rd, 4th, 5th round when you find those diamonds. Like I think that's what really separates. I think that's where you see the really great GMs kind of separate themselves from the
Packers are clinical with that.
And the Rams have actually been fairly good at that.
Yeah,
the Ravens for years with Ozzie Newsome. The Steelers, like, and part of that is the system they're in, and part of it's other factors. But like
Patriots were like that for a long time as well, and Bill Belichick started to kind of fall off a little bit. And when
only on defense,
right, on the defensive side of the ball. Well, I mean, still
they couldn't draft a wide receiver to save their life, dude.
Okay, so Julian Edelman and
I don't know if he drafted any of those guys.
No, he did draft. They did draft Edelman because Bill O'Brien was Wes Welker was a Dolphin. I was gonna say Danny Amendola, but Danny Amendola was somewhere else prior to that. So
they converted DBs to wide receiver,
and they converted some tight ends to Hall of Famers and some tight ends into prisoners. But either way, they did. I mean, they did a good job in the tight end department, right? So I'll agree with you on the wide receiver portion of it. I just, as soon as you said that, I had watched. I've watched Bill O'Brien talk about Julian Edelman was a quarterback in college, and Bill O'Brien was basically put in charge of doing the scouting for Edelman and bringing him in as a wide receiver. Initially, they were going to turn him into a safety. So, interesting story there.
Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
So bad. Michigan just fired their offensive coordinator the day before early signing day.
Huh.
Bold strategy. I mean, they got that quarterback coming in, they're paying like $10.5 million, so it doesn't really matter, I guess.
Yeah.
But,
I hate to see it for Brian Kelly.
Do you hate to
and
see
his
that?
family.
No, Michigan.
I know, but he lost.
Oh.
He lost on Underwood. I hate to see it for him.
Oh, yeah.
Gotcha.
His family.
$10.5 million. That's over the course of 4 years. So,
More than likely,
you know, averages out to about 2.5 or so. Yeah, Dave Portnoy, though. I mean, I think that's kind of a cool thing is like knowing, you know, that people can step up for your program. And I feel like the more clout that they have in this world of the internet, that, you know, you can pull some strings a little bit easier. And it's interesting, but it also is, it leaves things to be desired a little bit but it also does even the playing field. There's no doubt about that, right? Like, we're seeing it across the board, at least for this year. Does it continue on next year? Who in the world knows? What do you want to talk about, Max? We've wasted your minute talking
about.
It's
not a waste. Dude, every minute's a blessing. Jameis Wilson.
Oh, your dad says Poles hasn't drafted any offensive lineman. How do you feel about that?
No, he drafted one.
The guy out of Tennessee.
Yeah.
Darnell, right?
Yeah.
Has he been?
Fine. Our O-line's horrible.
Yeah. Well, and there's no way that Caleb Williams is going to get better unless you fix that offensive line. That's got to be the point of emphasis if you're Ryan Poles.
Was an O-lineman. So
yeah. You would think
he's right. I mean, we haven't drafted correctly. We'll definitely be taking one, I would think. I'm still mad that we passed on Jalen Carter. I got to be honest with you. I mean, granted, would he be in this position if he was on the Bears? I don't know. But with him and Sweat lining up, it wouldn't have stunk.
No, there's no doubt about that.
We've made some bad deals, though, too. I mean, we traded that second-round pick for Claypool.
Oh, yeah.
Is he even in the league right now?
I don't think so.
That was brutal.
Chase Claypool.
That didn't be like the 33rd overall pick, I think, too.
Yeah, from Hard Knocks. There was, like, footage of Ryan Poles declining sixth-round pick offers for Velus Jones, who's not on the team anymore.
Yeah.
So that's good. I don't know. There's definitely a few things, so we'll see. This is very important for him. Should have moved on from Eberflus this offseason. I don't think that's hindsight. I think that's what every Bears fan wanted too.
Yeah.
Harbaugh has been with the Bears before, so everyone wanted Harbaugh. I don't think that's a hot take to have said that. And if Ben Johnson was interested, it's dumb that he didn't listen to him too.
Man.
Like watching Eberflus, like that guy's going to go down as one of the worst coaches ever.
That would have been an interesting tandem, though.
It would have.
Harbaugh over there with the Chicago Bears. I wonder. I think that would have
fan base deserves it.
Helped Caleb Williams, not in the sense of becoming this elite passer, but because it would have been. Now you would have had to make sure that DeAndre Swift would have had to play a huge role in this offense. Is he capable of doing that? You know,
stuff like the Thanksgiving loss to the Lions, like time doesn't run out. Like he handles that way better. Like
that was one of the most egregiously handled situations I've ever seen in football, I think.
And the people, and I hate that people are like, oh, Caleb Williams, blah, blah, blah. No, he's a rookie quarterback. You got to have your coach getting everyone in line. He wasn't getting.
I think anyone who's played a football video game knows what you got to do right there.
Yeah.
There's no way with 32 seconds on the clock you get off one play.
Yeah.
That's just absurd.
That's welcome to my life. It's another Thursday, Sunday, Monday, whatever.
Max like, that's just part of the course.
We found some good ways to lose.
And the Chiefs have found great ways to win.
Yeah. Otherwise, the only other things going on in my world, Indiana Twitter's hilarious right now just because of being in the playoff. They're just messing with different fan bases. I don't know who, as a Hoosier, I'll root for if Ohio State plays Tennessee. I hope that game doesn't happen. We have a lot of our basketball teams doing bad right now. We have a lot of really annoying Louisville fans in our mentions because we didn't play them this year, which had nothing to do with us.
In basketball or in football?
Well, in basketball, they killed us.
Yeah.
Mike Woodson, idiot. He needs to go, too.
Weren't you happy about him when they hired him?
I mean, he gets recruits.
Yeah.
He connects with the players. Give you that. He's not a good X's and O's guy.
Should head coaches in any sport, whatever it is, collegiate level is what I'm talking about here. Yeah. If they can't get the job done on the court, but yet they continue to bring in these recruiting classes, should they just become high-paid recruiters or something, and work in tandem with
like what
a good
Howard
head coach?
Did with Bill Self forever.
Yeah.
You think Bill Self's really you think Bill Self is connecting with guys on the recruiting path? No. John Calipari? No. They have those top guys who
And then that makes their job, their life anyways, maybe not their job. It does make their job easier, but it also makes it like, hey, you can spend a little family time because old boy is out on the road and you just got to show up wherever you're told to show up at.
Some true heroes there in the making.
Right. You got to do a good job so that, that university or school will definitely pay out to those coaches so that you can do that.
When you got to get those guys raises as well. I mean, and we're seeing a rise in the general manager level of college
football
right now.
To be a coach now, you got to be like a CEO. It's not just about being a coach. You have to manage all aspects, including like money and like, the...
I think that is true, but I think that we're starting to see the rise in that general manager position in college football. Like Andrew Luck is about to be the GM of Stanford. You've got, I'm blanking on big guy's name for Alabama, but Morgan.
And isn't Andrew Luck's dad still there at Stanford?
Is it Stacy?
I think it is.
I want to say and I'm going to say this, I don't mean to direct, but I think it's like a female type.
It's.
I'm just being honest. Like, it is a predominantly feminine name. Is that the best way to put? Like, I'm not trying to.
Courtney Morgan.
Okay, yeah. Like, I mean, I met a lot of guys named Courtney, but like, typically, if you think Courtney, you think of
right, and he looks the furthest thing from.
He's a big dude. Like,
absolutely. What were you going to say, Caveman?
One, I was going to say when I lived in Atlanta, we knew a couple Courtneys. One was a guy and a girl, so when we referred to Courtney, we always had to be like, guy Courtney or girl Courtney?
There you go. Courtney M, Courtney F.
Yeah.
Max, you got time to make your picks in the next segment? Yes, you do. No, come on, man.
Neighbor's car today.
Bill, what's going on, brother?
Get neighbor's car. Got a loaner.
All right, have the neighbor call in.
I had to bring it back to the dealership in like 7 miles in.
Tell us the story.
I got a car. Tried to buy it.
What kind of car was it? Don't tell us.
Ford Bronco.
Ford Bronco. Don't tell us where you got it from. Any of that. We're not trying to.
No,
get into that.
No free plug.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I'm saying I got it from a different part of the state.
Gotcha.
And just got a better deal there. And I think it just wasn't, turned on or taken care of really during Thanksgiving week. And just
how many miles did it have on it?
Like 8.
8 miles. So it was brand new. 2024. Yeah. Classic looking.
Yeah, I can show you a picture.
Oh yeah. There we go. We'll go ahead and take a break and we'll look at these pictures.
No, one other thing I want to say.
Yeah.
And I know I'm dramatic sometimes. If they implement that golden bat rule,
I was going to ask you about that. That's why I wanted you for another segment, man.
It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. I don't know how Rob Manfred has a job.
Manfred, man. He's such a roach. Golly.
That's just an idiot. Like, that's fun if you're playing, like, backyard wiffle ball with your friends, but... Like,
even then, I think that's lame. We couldn't even do that. You know what this rule is?
No, I was going to say like a minute, very briefly, because I know we got to get to a break. But
that thing is sweet.
What is the golden bat rule?
All right, so the golden bat rule broken down would basically be you can have one, I think it's just one time in the game after inning 7, or if you're trailing in the 9th inning by 1 or more runs, which obviously
your best player
dictates what. Yeah, you could just pick whoever wants. So you know what I mean? It's like, you're supposed to be up in 2 spots, but we're going to go ahead and let you hit now. It's like,
which is so
it's like you're going to Chocolateville with Willy Wonka or something like that. Like, here's your golden ticket.
Pass because it's so stupid.
The fact that it made it this far. Once someone heard that's like a baseball fan, and they didn't say, all right, hey, maybe you should stop with the ideas. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the funny thing, though, is on like Cubs Twitter, they were like, so we're just going to have a differerent guy with a golden bat every day.
Why don't you just, when stuff doesn't go right, go back to the old days when we were kids and like do over.
Yeah, mulligan in baseball.
Are they going to do like ghost runners on third now too?
Well, I mean, they might as well let them start at home plate. Like,
and there's going to be like dumb records that would be broken in like, I don't know.
Yeah, home run because you
multiple
can get
home runs in the same inning, perhaps, or something like that. Different bats.
It'll be it would be
Fernando Vina has the record for
Tatis.
Sorry, different.
Senior. Yeah,
different Fernando. For 2
guys. And then Ohtani, how crazy is that going to be when he's up at bat? And then like they want to say like Ohtani's going to be up at bat and like 7 more batters. You don't know. He could be up to bat 3 more.
And they're going to have that little chart right there, the Ohtani counter.
On the broadcast. Ohtani could be up again, but he's also up in 8 at bats.
That is so wild. Like Ohtani up to bat in 6 at bats, or 6 batters. Like what?
Oh, really? Is that how the lineup works? Like, nice, thanks.
My goodness. Well, Max, thanks so much. Tell the people what it is that you do and how they can get a hold of you.
Yeah, Legion Lending Firm, 850-565-1160. Single-family homes, condos, manufactured homes. No land. Juice isn't worth the squeeze.
Juice isn't worth the squeeze. You knew where I was going. That's Max Delighten, ladies and gentlemen. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back here with the Afternoon Underdogs.
Yes, sir.
ESPN Northwest Florida. It's the Coach James Hale Show.
That covers the SEC. We had SEC officials there. What's wrong with it?
Everything.
What's wrong with it?
You know what gets me?
Targeting is what was it called? Was it called? Yes or no? Did they call it?
You know what gets me?
There wasn't targeting it.
The quarterback has got the ball in his hand.
Weekday morning 7 to 9. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna with your weather forecast from ESPN Northwest Florida on this Tuesday. Clear the rest of the day with a wind at 10 miles per hour out of the north and 57. Tonight, look for a light wind and clear skies with a temperature near 39. Tomorrow, a high around 61 and sunshine. Thursday, quite warm with a high of 69 and mostly clouds in the early morning and then a chance of thunderstorms. This weather forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Golf is a game that should be fun, but to have the most fun, you need to play your best. That's where the experts at Golf Plus come in. Their friendly staff will guide you through the buying process, answer all your questions, and can help with any repairs you need along the way. Golf Plus is your custom fitting, club repair, and golf retail shop. Golf Plus staff is non-commissioned and will work with you to find the best product for your game, just like they've been doing since 1988. Golf Plus in Dothan and Panama City Beach. Fitting, repair, retail. That's Golf Plus.
Are you tired of hearing 2 weeks when you call to get your boat worked on? Hey folks, it's Chris Kramer with Kramer Marine and Outdoor, and we'll get you in and back out on the water as quick as possible. We're a full-line Yamaha outboard dealer and Suzuki outboard dealer, and we have master-trained certified mechanics on site. So if it's just an annual service, electronics install, trolling motor install, or all the way up to a full repower, we can take care of you. So stop by and see us in the corner of Frankfurt and 23rd next to Bill Kramer GM, or call us at 850-851-0453.
Hot takes, the latest trades, in-depth interviews.
That is my reaction.
We break it down for you right here.
Very big springboard for the rest of my career.
The Afternoon Underdogs.
That's the problem right there.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
We are back. This is the Afternoon Underdogs here on ESPN Northwest Florida. That was your Minutes with Max. And we'll go over his picks here at the top of hour number 2. Let's take this time to let you guys know I never got to it. We are your home for Auburn Tiger basketball, and they're going to be taking on Duke tomorrow evening. Coverage will start right here on ESPN Northwest Florida at 7:45 for an 8:15 or 8:20 tip. There could be a 5-minute slide there, but Auburn playing some really, really good basketball right now. So if you are an Auburn Tiger basketball fan, make sure that you're tuned in at 7:45 tomorrow as they get ready to take on the Duke Blue Devils. Florida State made a interesting hire. Was that out of the blue to you? Did you see that writing on the wall?
So when it first came out, they had fired their 2 coordinators.
So we knew that they were hiring.
So yeah,
right. But did you think it was going to be Gus Malzahn?
No,
leaving UCF as a head coach to take a coordinator position.
I would have never bet money in like a million years on Gus Malzahn. And nothing like about Gus. It's just like, and I said to our buddies in the group chat, like the big Florida State fans, like, I'm curious what his market looks like. Like, I don't know, and I could be completely off. Like, I don't know how secure Norvell's job is after 2025. A lot of that will depend on next year's results. So, like, what kind of coach is going to want to hitch their wagon to what could potentially be a 1-year stint?
Yeah.
That's always a tough thing to do.
Do you think he could be going into it looking at it like, well, if
take over,
right? Like, say we go, say that they start off like they did this year, where it's 0-4 essentially. If you're Florida State, do you pony up the money for the buyout? Because it's like, hey, like, I'm not asking you to go 10-2 after a 2-10 year, but we need to, be on the right side of looking at least going 7-5, right? 7-5 has got to be the goal if you're Florida State.
Yeah, if they miss a bowl game again, without having their schedule right from, I know they play Bama to start the season next year. I know they have,
So do you get a pass in that game? Coming off the season that you had.
Yeah, I don't think you go into that game with huge realistic expectations.
And they're also going to have Kent State, though, on the flip side of that, 0-12.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, no, it's funny. You mentioned Chip Kelly going back about, going to Ohio State. And there's so many similarities there because Ryan Day either played for or coached under Chip Kelly back at, New Hampshire. Norvell and Gus Malzahn have a little bit of past. I think it was back at Tulsa. So there is some of that familiarity. Then you have, Gus Malzahn, Chip Kelly were very innovative 10, 15 years ago. They've had some success as a head coach. And then recently they were kind of at second tier Power 4 now schools, UCF now being a Power 4 school in the Big 12, Chip Kelly being at UCLA and not having great success. And then now they leave that job to then take over a offensive coordinator job with a guy that they used to work with, coach. And, it's just kind of a very, very, very similar parallels in a lot of ways. And again, it wasn't super successful for Ohio State this year. Will it be successful? I mean, again, I think it's good for Florida State in the sense, you don't bring Gus Malzahn in and not let him run the offense, I feel like. So,
right.
His scheme, from what I can tell, is very different from Mike Norvell's in a lot of ways. The quarterbacks on Florida State's roster do not fit what Gus's quarterbacks traditionally have been.
Which someone did text in earlier. I'm not sure who it is. I don't have them saved in here. They said Milroe to FSU for the Gus bus.
That's who I said 3 days ago in our group chat was.
Do you think Milroe would? What's the ties there?
So Milroe would fit perfectly in Gus Malzahn's offense.
Okay.
I think
we thought KJ Jefferson was going to do the same thing, and that never really.
That's fair. That's fair. I think Milroe is a big enough name that Florida State alums and NIL funders would be a name worth them poaching.
Gotcha.
Momentum for Florida State, momentum for Mike Norvell, momentum for Gus. And then also they play Bama week 1 next year. I think if Milroe leaves, it's because him and Kalen DeBoer are not seeing eye to eye on a lot of things, or him and the offensive coordinator, the play caller. And maybe he's like, you know what, I want to go. And I mean, let's be honest, the ACC is probably a simpler path to the playoff. I want to go beat Alabama week 1. And I think I honestly think there'd be some of that to Jalen Milroe if he left Alabama not for the NFL.
Yeah.
And so, maybe I'm way off base. Maybe he's going to be a first-round pick and I'm an idiot. But if he doesn't go to the NFL, I'm not convinced he'll be back in Tuscaloosa. And I think Florida State's a really interesting spot for him going into next year.
I think I think it would be interesting. And of course, he would have the spirit as a competitor to think that, he could go in there week 1 and take care of business against Alabama. I don't know about, there's going to have to be a world of change for Florida State to be able to do that. But then again, we thought the same thing against Oklahoma. You just never know. And when you got that whole offseason and you've got, a good 3-4 months to truly prepare for one school.
Yeah.
You never know what could happen.
That is my wild, like I said, it's funny that somebody texted that in because I did put that in our group chat a few days ago. That is my wild, bold prediction is Jalen Milroe is in Tallahassee playing next year.
James Kelly says, what bowl game is the Seminoles in? Go Hurricanes. And then Cleveland Brad said, I would love it if Ohio State won the national championship and they still fired Ryan Day.
Could you fire Ryan Day at that point?
I don't think you can fire a team coach after
How
they
do you
win.
fire a guy coming off national championship? Who do you hire at that point, right?
Right. You would scare everyone off, right?
Oh, well, apparently a national championship isn't good enough, so what's the point?
Let's say that they lose in the first round. Ohio State does.
Yeah.
Who do they go Chip Kelly? Do they just put him into the top spot? Because that's one of those interesting dynamics. Maybe it's not a dynamic, but like a paradox, if you will, is when you're such a talented program, it's not like the pool out here is very deep of head coaches.
Yeah. But I mean, Chip Kelly was so poor at his time at UCLA, and then obviously he wasn't good enough to help elevate Ryan Day.
Yeah.
Why would you want to elevate him at that point?
I'm with you there.
Chip Kelly is not known as a great recruiter again. Ohio State sells itself. The NIL will sell itself. You don't have to be as good of a recruiter anymore. It helps, but obviously the money speaks for a lot of kids. But, I mean, would you really at that point, does Chip Kelly excite you at that point? And I don't think so. Because, I mean, what did Chip Kelly, even at Oregon, he played for a couple of national championships, never won it.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't do anything at UCLA. And again, at that point, he offensive coordinated y'all to a 3-loss team. To a 3-loss team with the talent that y'all helped assemble. I don't see him being the guy that gets the fan base excited. Who that guy is, that's risky business. I mean, Mike Vrabel's a guy that's been thrown out by some hypotheticals. I don't think Vrabel wants anything to do with the college portal, NIL era.
Yeah.
I mean, but then the problem is, are they going to go after Marcus Freeman? I don't know.
Yeah.
Would it be Luke Fickell at Wisconsin?
Yeah, but if you're Marcus Freeman,
I wouldn't leave. Notre Dame's got the easiest path to the playoff year in and year out.
Yeah.
Why would you give that up?
Luke Fickell, can you go after Luke Fickell
after Wisconsin? Right. Really exciting. I mean,
Matt Rule's kind of in that same exact boat. James Franklin, basically replace Ryan Day with Ryan Day.
Yeah, no. Why would you want to do that with bald Ryan Day?
Urban Meyer come back?
I mean,
that's what Cleveland Brad's just throwing in some names. Bob Stoops, Urban Meyer.
I mean, yeah, now you're talking 10-year-old retreads. Like,
It's like,
do those guys really excite you?
Might
at
as
this
well
era?
just bring in Mac Brown as the OC.
I can't think of any like alums too, because normally like a school like that, like the reason why Michigan went and got a Harbaugh, you go get like a friend of the program.
Vrabel is
guy.
the alum guy.
Yeah.
I just don't think that he can.
I just don't. Before people even mentioned him, I didn't see him even going there. I think he's an NFL guy.
People were talking that last year, but I agree with you. I think he's more of an NFL guy. I don't think that he can. I think he's a little too tough for college kids these days.
Yeah, I
if
think
that
the
makes
kids
sense.
he would rub them the wrong way.
An interesting hire that I don't think would pan out, but maybe could, would be Stoops from Kentucky. Guy that's going to play
Stoops.
You know they're going to play good defense, and for the first time in his career, he'll have the most talented roster of when he goes into a game. Like he's always fighting an uphill battle, maybe. But I mean, even that's not a hire that's going to get the fans ready to go rah rah like that's not, especially after the season they just had.
Is there anyone in the NFL? Matt Eberflus. Is there anyone in the NFL that you could see like maybe taking that lateral step, or kind of Nick Saban, Pete Carroll, kind of resurging their career because it's not looking great for them?
It would have to be a guy kind of like that. Brian Daboll is one of those guys that is interesting if he gets let go by the Giants, because he does have recent college ties. But does he want to get back in the college game? I don't know. Joe Brady is a guy that was at LSU with the Joe Burrow year, but he is a guy that apparently hates recruiting, wants no part of the college game.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's a realistic option.
He's OC for the Bills now. Yeah.
I mean, there's a guy like Ken Dorsey, who's the offensive coordinator for the Browns. I don't know if the Browns have been good enough to warrant that, but you're talking to guys staying local-ish. If you're Ohio State, with what Ryan Day has done, winning percentage-wise and everything else, I just don't know.
What about Justin Fields?
I just don't know who you go out and hire.
I mean, whoever it is, though, they can offer a lot of money. It's a position of prominence. It's one of the better jobs in college. So you would think there would be like a line out the door of like a bunch of qualified candidates.
Florida State was having a better year, I could see, if Norvell had 3 very good to great years in a row, maybe that's the type of guy. But after the year they had this year, how could you want that? I mean, I could see it coming off last year.
100%. I mean, Bama was talking, right.
But now it's not.
They're going to want a splash. They want a big name.
You're not going to hire Dabo, I don't think, at this point. I mean, there's a guy like Shane Beamer.
What about Cristobal? Mario Cristobal out of Miami.
Does that make you feel warm and fuzzy either? I mean, is he not basically
Ryan?
Is he not basically
no? And I think that he fits in, but he fits in perfectly with Miami. Plus, he's being bilingual, right, and him being bilingual, I think really helps him out.
I mean, is he not just
Miami.
like Miami Ryan Day at that point with what they did this year?
Yeah, no doubt.
If we're being honest, you could get really excited about a guy like Signetti, but
there's one undefeated team, really, right? Oregon.
Yeah.
I mean, and Dan Lanning's not moving.
No, he's got way too much Nike money tied up in his contract.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting, and that's why I wasn't convinced Florida was going to go out and get anybody of note, because I just don't know who that guy is to pay a $60 million, $40 million buyout.
Kenny Dillingham, Arizona State. He took him from 3-9 to 10-2.
It's a very interesting option. But how much are you willing to spend?
Who's the coach over there at SMU right now?
Rhett Lashley. Are you willing to go that far in on a 1-year wonder to an extent? Dillingham.
You got to hope that let me see it for a couple of years before.
And that's even my problem with Signetti
but see, Signetti's done it everywhere that he's been at.
But so did Kalen DeBoer, and he came in and lost 3 games with Bama this year.
Right, but I think that we all saw that writing being not to Vanderbilt, but if you replace the Vanderbilt loss with, the Oklahoma loss is just.
But I mean, I'm just saying, just because you can win at smaller schools, we've seen guys that be able to, Urban Meyer was able to do it, but it's not super common.
Yeah.
Just because handling those type of egos are different than handling the low.
I also will say, though, this. It would be like if you are a modern-day coach and you're going to take over Georgia, right? Stepping in the shoes of Kirby Smart, stepping in the shoes of a disciplinarian, and you're not to that same level of a disciplinarian, there's a culture shock that everyone has to kind of get used to. There's a freedom that is starting to be allowed. It's like, when my parents got divorced, right? And Dad wasn't around as much at that. There was a freedom right there that was
pushing the boundaries a little bit.
You push those boundaries, right? And so it's kind of like in that situation. that's one of the, I think that is the biggest overwhelming factor of the difference in the Tide this year. Hey, they lost a game last year, right? They lost 2, technically speaking, right? Because they lost to Michigan in the college football playoff. Great game. Went down to overtime. The fact of the matter is when you've got guys and it's like, this is how it's going to be, you mess up here, then, you can go find yourself another school or whatever. Whereas with Kalen DeBoer, it's been a little bit more free, a little bit more fun, a little bit more forgiving. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's just a huge difference. Go ahead.
Dion to Ohio State.
Oh, hold up. Let's talk about it. 850-215-6290. Hour number 2 of the Afternoon Underdogs here on ESPN Northwest Florida. Coming up next.
ESPN Northwest Florida is taking you on the ultimate road trip to see the Orlando Magic. It's the Hall and Hearts ESPN Northwest Florida Magic Express. You'll watch the game from a presidential suite loaded with free food and beverages. To win your trip on the Magic Express, download the ESPN Northwest Florida app and keep listening for more details. Sponsored by Hall and Hearts.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida. Here is your weather forecast on this Tuesday evening. As we head into tonight, clear skies and a low of 39 with a light wind at 7 miles per hour coming out of the east-northeast. For tomorrow morning, sunshine and a temp near 57. In the afternoon and evening, clear and a high around 62. For Thursday, very light showers and a high of 69. This weather forecast is brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Tired of flipping through channels and finding nothing good? Introducing Lucid Stream TV. Get over 2,000 live streaming channels. Catch every game of the season with over 100 sports networks, including ESPN, ESPN Plus, the NFL Network, and Red Zone. Even pay-per-view events. Watch local network channels from most major markets throughout the country. Fox, ABC, CBS, and NBC. Just $41.99 a month. Cut the cord, not the fun. To get Lucid Stream TV, go to ESPNPC.com and click the Lucid TV logo. Dak Cajun Place is your LSU and Saints football headquarters. Saints and LSU fans, wear your team colors and score a free Jell-O shot when your team scores a touchdown. Only at Dak Cajun Place. Get $5 pitchers on select draft beers during all live football games. Catch all the games at once with the NFL package on 27 large TVs at Dak Cajun Place. And the best wings on the beach. The locals' favorite, Dak Cajun Place.
Northwest Florida's home for college football bowl games. WGSX name and WVLQ Port St. Joe.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Powered by Panama City Toyota.
Welcome back to our number 2 of the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida 104.3 here in Panama City, 101.9 Port St. Joe. We've got 3 great local shows for you Monday through Friday from 7 to 9 a.m. It's the Coach James Hale Morning Show. Make sure that y'all are tuned into that. Weekdays, man, they bring great coverage to all the high school athletics and to college football, specifically the Alabama Crimson Tide. And then also from 11 to 1 Monday through Friday, the Inside Drive, as Chef Ross has been calling it, the Inside Drive-Through with Ryan Mulvey and Jay Henley. We do talk a lot about food. In fact, that's what I decided on for lunch today. I don't even know what made me think of it. He brought up like lamb or something. I was like, I want a gyro.
Yes,
it's been a while since I had one, so I went across the bridge, hit Gyro Cafe, and got me a daggum gyro, man.
Yes,
and that thing was delicious with a side of curly fries. So we talked. We've been talking about Ohio State. We'll continue on with that discussion, or just the coaching discussion in general. When we left off, Tyler brought up Deion Sanders. We'll save that one. Keep you on the cliff for a few more minutes, though. He says if Ohio State fires Day, it will be with a plan in place. I think we all are on the same page there. He goes on to say Vrabel would have more control, can have more control as the head coach of Ohio State than he would as a head coach in the NFL, where he clashed with both GMs, which was it was a weird situation for him, right? Because the owner, and he also goes on to say finicky owners. Bud Sistrunk Adams is the owner of the Tennessee Titans, and you had John Robinson and now Rand Carthon. So there was that disposition of, new GM having to deal with that. And then Miss Adams couldn't decide like who's making what call, and it kind of went back and forth, and that was the disconnect, and I hated it because I felt like Vrabel and Rand Carthon could have gotten along and could have figured their way through it, but also at the same time it was time to make some hard decisions, and I think that they were decisions that in the long run benefited some of the older players, some of the veteran players on the Tennessee Titans specifically, and Derrick Henry, and they bring in Callahan, and it's been a very fun 3-9 season for the Tennessee Titans this year. But Rome wasn't built in a day, and the Tennessee Titans are basically forever away from another Super Bowl window.
Athens, not Rome. Talking about the Titans.
Yeah. There you go. Greece wasn't built in a day. So, Deion Sanders, though, do you think, again, I like this comment by Tho, it's just the thing is I don't know how well Mike Vrabel would mesh with college players. We mentioned that in the previous segment as well. I just don't know how well he would mesh with the collegiate players of this day and age.
And again, I don't think, and to his point, I don't think you fire Ryan Day without a pretty decent name lined up. And Vrabel would be that.
Yeah, he would be a splash.
A guy like people would be like, oh, that was worth it.
Yeah.
Whether it worked out or not is a whole different issue. There's not many guys that are realistic that would be like, yeah, that was worth it. And Vrabel would definitely be one of those guys. It's easy for us to sit here and say, I think it's got to be a realistic possibility he does get fired, but at the same time, I just don't know what you do. I mean, honestly, a guy kind of like, I don't know if it would be
Jeff Fisher.
I was going to say Bill O'Brien.
Oh, yeah.
He was already going to go there to be the OC. He had a pretty good year this year at Boston College. He had a pretty
good for Boston College.
He had a couple good years with Penn State. Had a few good years with the Texans.
And he was Bill O'Brien, right? When he took over, that was right after the
Joe Paul,
the Dusky up.
Yeah. That was they were under some major sanctions at that point. So I don't. Bill O'Brien would not be the splash hire. I don't think that Vrabel would be considered. But I think it would be a pretty, and I know he's got a son with special needs, but the fact that he was already willing to go to Ohio State either means that it was a possibility for him, or they've got a center that can handle it.
You're right.
Which I think is big for him, kind of like what Chris Peterson at Boise State a decade ago or so.
Yeah. When Jimbo Fisher, I think, had some of the same situation when moving from here to Texas A&M.
Yeah, I think that was part of that as well. So, there are some things like that play a role, but if he was already willing to be in Columbus, either that wasn't an issue or there was a resolution for it. So, I don't think it'd get the same hype that Vrabel would, but I think it could be a great hire nonetheless.
I mean, sometimes the splash hires aren't. A lot of Alabama fans weren't all the most excited when Nick Saban took over. A lot of us really wanted Rich Rodriguez. We were talking about this earlier. Well,
what
thank
if
the
college
Lord,
football right there, man.
Thank the Lord that it didn't go that way. Sometimes it's not, the flashiest of hires. It's a guy that can get the job done, especially with the tools that he would be provided. And if you're going to a place like Ohio State, you're going to have every tool at your disposal to build a championship-winning roster.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because they can do so much worse than Ryan Day. I know he's a fun punching bag for the pundits and Michigan fans and all the people who are like, oh, come on, but the guys won a lot of games in a short amount of time. There's a lot farther you can drop than go up.
Yeah, but don't you think a lot of other coaches could have gone in there and had the same success that he's had?
Probably.
It's not.
I agree.
I don't want to say it's too tough, but when you have that kind of,
if we're being honest,
access to players and
they
stuff
played
like that.
A 2-game schedule a lot of the years between Penn State and Michigan. Obviously this year was Oregon and Penn State and Michigan, I guess.
Right.
And they're always the most talented team on the field.
I was going to say, take out Napier from Florida and insert Ryan Day and put Napier in Ohio State. You get the same results both ways. You know what I'm saying?
My brother Will just texted me. How about Lane Kiffin to Ohio State? Would he leave Oxford and Ole Miss? Because, hey, look, it's an uphill battle. I forget who the freshman quarterback is, or I guess he'll be a sophomore next year. Simmons, I believe, maybe. But, would Lane Kiffin wait, I know he loves Ole Miss, and he's expressed that. But
Lane is interesting because for the first time he would not be at a Tier 2 school. As good as Ole Miss has been the last few years, there's still a second-tier school when it comes to the SEC. Historically,
third tier.
Yeah,
and he brought them to the second tier. I think that's fair to say, right? He took Tennessee from a Tier 1 and dropped them to a Tier 2.
Well, they're already on that. Yeah. But that would be, could he do better right now?
He kept the Raiders status quo.
That's just the Raiders being the Raiders. You got tarmacked at USC, but that was a sanction-driven career as well. I think Ryan Day and USC, I feel like, or Ryan Day and Lane Kiffin are so similar in what they've accomplished and what people feel about them as far as big games. But Lane Kiffin probably has not had those same kind of roster that Ryan Day has.
Kiffin's got a higher ceiling. I think they probably got the same floor, but I think Kiffin's also more of like the personality of Florida State. He's more like, outgoing, more flashier, more outspoken. He's like, you know what I'm saying?
See, it's funny because I kind of love Lane Kiffin, follow him on Twitter, love his personality, a lot of the stuff he tweets and retweets. I feel like the Big Ten would hate Lane Kiffin at Ohio State just because he is so outgoing. And then being at Ohio State,
they probably would hate him.
Oxford is
Ohio State.
the space for him.
Oxford, like nobody hates Ole Miss unless you're like a Mississippi State
or Southern Miss, yeah.
But like I don't know, like I don't feel like most of the bigger programs hate Ole Miss. So it's like
I hated him for a couple year stretch, right?
Obviously, I wasn't their biggest fan
and Jack Kelly,
But like as a whole, like it's just Ole Miss is just there.
Yeah, they're like a little teddy bear.
Now all of a sudden, if he's at a program that people hate, and then you're doing those kind of antics like that, it's a whole different.
Oh man. Hey, I mean, the transformation that Lane Kiffin has had, Raiders coach, Tennessee coach, then, OC at Bama, getting USC, you forget
He's the same guy, though. Like, I don't think there's a big change. I think it's the same person, the same character, man.
I think that, to an extent, he is the same person, but a person that learned his lessons, applied those lessons, and matured some. He has matured. Like, yes, he's still a jovial, fun-loving guy. However, everything that he does isn't just immature, right? Like he's learned lessons along the way, and we can learn lessons all our entire life, right? Like take it out, because a lot of this stuff that we're talking about is off of the field stuff, right? Like things that Lane Kiffin got into. We can learn lessons throughout our life, but if we never apply how we learn those lessons, we don't really grow. And I have to say that Lane Kiffin has grown. If nothing else, he's grown on people. So there is that. But yeah, I mean, you start talking about all of the Raiders. That's a
youngest head coach in NFL history at the time, right?
I believe so. And man, and then gets tarmacked from Bama, goes to FAU to kind of try to bounce back, and then has done I would say disappointing this year, because they finally had that hype of feeling like, all right, we've got this figured out, we're going to be one of the top dogs in the SEC, and it just didn't play out that way for them. But that could be really interesting. Deion Sanders losing Shedeur, losing Travis Hunter. Do you think that there's a reality where Ohio State, if provided that they do fire Ryan Day, do you think Ohio State reaches out to Deion Sanders in this time just to see, could this be one of those plans in place that we might need?
I'm going to say probably not. I don't think, this is going to come out a certain way probably, but I don't know if enough Ohio State fans really respect Deion Sanders. I think there's a lot of, especially maybe the older boosters that are writing the checks on a lot of these things, at top programs across the country, they may recognize the name Deion Sanders, but I don't think they truly think of him as a legit national championship caliber coach. And I don't know if you can stroke those checks for a guy you don't truly believe in to be that guy.
Yeah.
And I'm not the job he did this year at Colorado was great. Is he committed long term? I think the way he's run Colorado, in the sense he hasn't recruited volume. I'm not saying he hasn't recruited well, but he hasn't recruited any volume. And that's concerning for a program that typically recruits really well. Granted, Ohio State recruited itself, but I think you want to see better effort from him on the recruiting trail, because as much as the transfer portal is NIL, you still have to be able to do these things. It's not just writing checks. You got to make connections. And he can connect when they're on campus, but as far as I can tell, he hasn't made an off-campus visit for a recruit ever. In this time in Colorado, that's just unheard of.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how insufferable that fan base would be if they had him? At least until they fell on their face and everybody could point and laugh.
That would be one of the wildest,
It would be worse than if it was Lane Kiffin over there, right?
It would be a circus up there. And for however it worked out, for better or for worse, it would be wild.
Oh, my goodness. Do you think you'd feel good about that hire if you're a Michigan fan?
I think it'd be a 50-50 split. I think there's the half, kind of like what I said, that don't believe he's a true national championship caliber.
Yeah.
And I think you got the half that, man, look at the job he did at Colorado. If he can get that kind of talent to Colorado, what can do? The argument is there both ways. I see it either side. I'm a little bit on I'm not sure he's a championship program building coach, but there is that side, 9-3 at Colorado was pretty dang good this year.
Yeah.
So
especially in a topsy-turvy Big 12, right?
So I mean, I see it going either way.
Mike saying the bus drove him all week. I'm not sure what kind of a bus.
Bus?
No, because he's a Michigan fan, but he does say go blue. Wright State Chris says, was Brent Key on the same Alabama staff as Kirby Smart? The way that Kirby embraced Brent after the Georgia Tech game makes me think that they coached together at some point in time. I'm not sure if they were on the same staff. I know that Nick Saban has had Brent Key on a staff. I'm not sure if that was at Bama or not. But what I do know about Kirby Smart and Brent Key, and I think that embrace was a wonderful game, and they took part in that rivalry themselves as players. Brent Key playing for Georgia Tech and Kirby Smart playing for Georgia.
Yeah, 100%. I think part of that, I believe Brent Key was in Bama the year after Kirby left, so 2016 to like 2018 or something like that. Because I looked it up after the game, and I want to say that's what I remember seeing.
What do you think that embrace was showing?
I think kind of that point, like you've got two guys who played in the game. Like I'm not sure if Brent Key's from Georgia, but he obviously went to Tech.
Mm-hmm.
Kirby Smart.
When did Kirby go to Georgia? Not as a player.
Like
when did y'all hire him?
2016 was his first season.
Okay, so you're exactly right. Then he was O-line coach for Bama 2016 to 2018.
Okay, yeah. But I mean, you got two guys who played in the rivalry. Kirby's as George as it gets, and I think as much as he loves beating his rivals, like I think Kirby is a huge fan of the game of football. Like he truly wants what's best for the game of football as a whole. You know, when it comes to NIL, when it comes to recruiting, when it comes to the portal, and he even said in his post-game conference, like that game was great for the state of Georgia.
Yeah,
like, and I think he truly believes that. He's an interesting guy. If you ever get a chance to listen to him talk, obviously as a Georgia fan, he really gets like, oh, let's go. But some of his stuff is so awesome to hear, and I think he's truly a guy kind of like Nick Saban. Like, yeah, they want to win, they want to dominate, but like at the end of the day, they love what is best for college football as a whole.
Yeah.
And when they complain about something, like they're going to be like, oh, he just doesn't want that disadvantage or that advantage taken away from him. It's like, I think what we saw with Nick Saban, like Nick Saban came out about some of these portal and NIL rules, and people thought, oh, Nick Saban's just not going to have this advantage. Like, I think we're seeing some of those things play out.
Yeah.
And I think Kirby Smart is built, and obviously was with Nick for so long that it's hard not to have rubbed off on him. And I think they're built similar in a lot of ways, that they truly care about the game of college football going forward. Because you help develop young men, you help do these things, and they're winners. They like to win.
Yeah.
But I think I think that's part of what it was. I mean, it was a mentally probably fatiguing game for both of them. Again, neither of them have probably been a part of anything like that. And I think there's just mutual respect there. I think Brent Key, he's brought some intensity to that rivalry. He's brought toughness to Georgia Tech as a whole. And I think that's part of it at the end of the day is like, there's coaches I don't know if Kirby Smart's the biggest fan of, and you can tell by some of the reactions he has. But then there's guys that he definitely respects, and you can tell by the way he interacts with them.
Well, one of those guys might be Steve Sarkisian, right? Is that who you're referring to?
No.
I think there's a healthy respect for Kirby Smart for Steve Sarkisian?
I would imagine so.
Okay.
I don't know if there's a ton of crossover for them to have I don't think Shane Beamer is the guy he particularly likes for Kirby.
Okay.
Beamer worked for Kirby, and I don't think the relationship ended 100% the best.
Okay.
I'm not going to say it was terrible, but it would not strike me if they were the best of friends, right? They're not sending Christmas cards. I don't think he's a big Dan Mullen fan.
We don't got to worry about that.
Yeah, but I'm just talking about like guys like I'm not convinced that Kirby likes some of these guys, and you can tell by different things he does. Mark Stoops, I think, is a guy he really respects.
Yeah.
Really, has a respect for the job he's done at Kentucky, the type of program he runs, things like that. But there's, like I said, I think there's a few coaches. I don't think he's a big Ryan Day fan, from what I've heard.
What other coaches are though? I don't think I've ever heard anyone come out and be like, man,
that Ryan Day, I love that guy.
Yeah, maybe Connor Stallions.
So like I said, I think there's coaches he truly respects, and I think Brent Key is just on that list.
Well, the reason why I brought up Sarkisian there is because Wright State Chris says if Sarkisian wins a couple national championships at Texas, could Alabama lure him back to Bama? If he wins a couple national championships at Texas, he's going to be staying right there at Texas.
Texas money is huge, and Bama couldn't match it.
I agree with that, and I also think that if like Kalen DeBoer is going to get a little bit longer of a leash than what people are expecting. I think most Alabama fans are very overreactive to anything that is negative. They were that way the last 3 or 4 years with Nick Saban there as well. Like is it time for Saban to go? All of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Don't forget what y'all was talking about. Now, a lot of the times people would blame it on the coordinators and stuff, and I was one of those fans who would be like, all right, we like Bill O'Brien, great offensive coordinator. He really is. But to me, it was so daggum boring. It would be like, come on, man, this is college football. Light it up a little bit. So I don't think really there's a world where Sarkisian is going to be at
Texas
Alabama.
wants a coach, they could pay him like $18 million if they really want. And nobody's going to be able to just pay. It wouldn't be worth it for anybody. I mean, unless you got Nick Saban type results, no coach is really worth $18 million probably.
And Nick Saban wasn't even getting $18 million.
No, exactly. But Texas,
he was making enough money at
Texas
Mercedes.
oil money is real.
Oh yeah, it is real, and it is.
Well, we saw
not
with Jimbo
rigged,
Fisher in
but-
his contract.
Yeah,
$75 million fully guaranteed, 10 year, like that whole bit, like, and that's the little brother in the state.
Yeah.
I mean, there's probably some Aggie fans out there that are going to come, down to the radio station and knife me for saying that. But,
Yeah.
I mean, if we're being honest, like.
No, they all got money, really.
They
Even
got Texas money.
SMU's
got some
TCU,
big money too. Like they paid their own buyout.
Texas State.
SMU forfeited the TV money for the first 3 years of being in the ACC just to get there.
Yeah,
because they didn't need it.
Do they make another move? You think in the next 5, 10? No, it'll probably be 10 years, huh?
I think they'd have to show some consistency.
Of course. But I mean,
they're big. I think Dallas and their money and everything is a big enough thing.
They deep down inside, if you're SMU. If you're an alum, if you're been a lifelong fan, don't you want that after getting the death sentence?
Oh, yeah.
Don't you want to come back guns a-blazing like Viva, SMU?
Pony
look
Express.
out.
Viva Dallas.
For real though, that would be giving them middle fingers.
They got the death penalty for what is legal today.
Yeah.
So let's fire this bad boy back up.
Pony Express 2.0, baby.
It's you start seeing that old machine start clicking again. It takes a few times to get going. Once it's up and running.
Next thing you know, maybe UNLV will be doing the same thing.
Oh, there you go. I mean, they're playing. UNLV technically.
I'm talking about basketball, not football.
No, I know that, but I'm talking about
UNLV's
football
playing
right
for a
now.
playoff spot this week.
Yeah, if UNLV beats Boise State in the Mountain West Conference, they're going to be in the college football playoff.
Everybody's kind of just written Boise State in the pin.
They have, and
UNLV
UNLV
right
10-2, because Tulane losing to Memphis. That pretty much crosses them out. I don't think Army's got a true shot. Even if they win, they'll be sitting there 9-1. But the blowout loss, I think the thing that helps Boise State so much is that they caught Oregon at the right time of the year, right? The week prior to Boise State taking on Oregon, they had Idaho State, I believe, or
I think it was Idaho.
Okay, yeah. Either way, and they barely put them away. Oregon really did not start hitting their stride till about week 4 or 5 this year. So what were we gonna say?
I was going to say I've talked all year, and I think it's still a thing where conference championship losers are not penalized super hard. What if UNLV beats Boise State? There's no way they put both of them in there, right?
I don't think so. I don't think you can do that. But if there was one smaller group of 5 school that was possible to do that with in this year, it would be Boise State, because their lone losses to BYU, but BYU's losses has really hurt Boise State's case.
What if it's a one-loss game, and then the other games, are more blowouts where those losses are worse?
I think it's
what I'm saying?
but
It's pretty
it's just
close.
a fun little.
Just saying.
Would you put in a 2-loss Boise State team? I mean, I would put Miami in over a 2-loss.
Yeah. I don't think it's realistic. I just thought it would be fun. Really? You want to really set the college football world on fire?
I mean, it would.
It's a TV show, right, ultimately. And
I think that's wrong of me to say, because Miami deserves there's a choice between Miami and Alabama. There's a choice between South Carolina and Alabama and Miami. There's choices there. If SMU loses in the championship game, they've only got the one loss in the regular season. And so, they're not going to be penalized.
SMU's in.
Yeah. Right. Wait, Boise State's losses to Oregon.
BYU,
SMU. Yeah. That's the one I was thinking of. Yeah. Lots of stuff to unload here. We've got some picks for Tyler to make when we get back, and then also we've got to get his thoughts on flag planting. Might not have happened in the Georgia Tech game, but did go down in quite a few other stadiums, and we'd just like to get his opinion real quick, and then whatever else under the sun. And of course, you guys can call or text us 850-215-6290. This is the Afternoon Underdogs here on ESPN Northwest Florida.
ESPN Northwest Florida is your home for the NFL.
Touchdown, Denver!
We bring you the biggest games every Sunday, Monday, and Thursday night.
Oh, he's got the first down!
Plus, we'll broadcast more college football games than ever before.
He did what?
Live NFL and college football play here.
Unbelievable!
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida. Here is your weather forecast on this Tuesday evening. As we head into tonight, clear skies and a low of 39 with a light wind at 7 miles per hour coming out of the east-northeast. For tomorrow morning, sunshine and a temp near 57. In the afternoon and evening, clear and a high around 62. For Thursday, very light showers and a high of 69. This weather forecast is brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
With over 65 years of combined experience, Instant Replay Sports Cards is happy to help you take your collection to the next level. They carry all the new hobby boxes, signed memorabilia, and supplies. New and vintage cards and Pokemon. They sell and trade cards and are always looking to buy. They're an authorized source for Topps, Panini, Upper Deck, and Leaf cards. Instant Replay Sports Cards is open 7 days a week at 752 West 23rd Street, down from Academy Sports. It can always be reached at InstantReplaySportsCards.com.
Los Rancheros has been doing it right for 20 years. Los Rancheros brings a top-shelf dining experience to you with the opening of their beautiful new building. Watch all college and pro games on Los Rancheros' 14 large-screen TVs with great drink specials daily from 2 to 5 and during all the games. Los Rancheros, the place for live sports and great food on 23rd Street between Jenks and Harrison.
They're number one in the men's room.
I hope this place comes with toilet paper.
The Afternoon Underdogs.
Oh, geez, this is going to be a photo finish.
On ESPN Northwest Florida.
It's been wild. We are back, and we are your radio spot here for the Orlando Magics, 104.3 ESPN Magics, Orlando Magic Games, 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, 101.9 in Port St. Joe. And this Friday, it'll be the Magic and the 76ers, and that will be our first Orlando Magic game of the season. We've got a boatload of NFL and college football games coming your way. We will have every single college football playoff game right here on the air, and we've got some picks to dive into here. I'll read off Max's picks, and then Tyler will give us his synopsis, his prognostication, and give us his winner here. No spreads used. All of the games are pretty close. In fact, there's the NFL. If you look at the schedule this week, it's basically you've got a couple of good teams versus bad teams, and then it's basically all bad team versus bad team. And yeah, a lot of low spreads there. In fact, I think it's the Bills and the Rams might be the highest spread differential, and it might be 8 points. It might be 5, which the Rams are the home team there, but we'll see how that plays out. They put it to the San Francisco 49ers on Sunday Night Football. Did you see the Josh Allen touchdown to Amari Cooper? Amari Cooper slinging it back to Josh Allen?
Yeah, I saw that.
That was neat, man. That was pretty cool. We're going to start it off with the Conference USA Championship. Western Kentucky at Jacksonville State. These guys actually played last week. Western Kentucky got the better of Jacksonville State 19-17. Jacksonville State is a 3.5-point favorite in this game, and the total sitting at 57.5. Max is going to roll with the Gamecocks. And just a quick reminder here, I don't remember Florida State fans getting so upset back when Jacksonville State beat you guys a few years ago, and they planted their flag on your logo, and there was no fight. It's just different when it's a rivalry game. I totally get that, but to act like it's the thing is it's the same way as when you throw a punch in football or whatever. Who's going to get flagged? The guy who retaliates, right? That's how it always works out. And, you retaliated to something that actually happens quite a lot. So the onus, in my opinion, is on you, even if you don't like it.
My quick thing on that is just like, I don't
know. We're not. You can get away with a quick thing right now, but you're going to give us more thoughts on it later.
Okay, we'll wait. I got Jacksonville State because I think Conference USA still plays at the home team stadium, so they'll get a little bit of home field advantage. And
were they in Alabama or were they in Kentucky last time?
I'm not sure.
I want to say that they were.
But with Vegas having them favored like a week after winning, or losing, there's a good reason for that.
I agree. Shout out to us in that AG's alma mater.
Yeah.
Western Kentucky, so there you go.
He went to the good old Hilltoppers there. Number 22, UNLV. At number 11, Boise State. We were just talking about this game. Boise State comes in as a 3.5-point favorite. They've got a Heisman hopeful and the running back Ashton Jenkins. Genty. The total is sitting at 58.5, and this is for the Mountain West Conference here, and a playoff spot is absolutely on the line.
It's funny because we were talking earlier in the year when UNLV's quarterback quit week 3 or whatever it was because of the NIL deal. You remember that whole thing?
Slocum or whatever.
Yeah, and it was like, we're like, man, these people are going to be, fighting for a playoff spot. And here he is just opting out. Well, here they are. They're still fighting for a playoff spot. Former Mizzou coach Barry Odom, obviously doing a great job over there in Vegas. But give me Ashton Genty. If they win this game, my wild pick is he wins the Heisman.
Oh,
in a year
over Travis Hunter.
So in a year where we're trying to include more teams in the playoff, we're trying to create parity. We're trying to create everybody in the field has a chance. What better way to send that than a G5 school getting a bye week in the playoff and winning the Heisman?
Yeah. And then he'll get the Madden cover next year too, right?
I hope that because he can be cursed.
Wasn't there there was who was the Boise State running back that was on the he was on the NCAA cover?
Yeah, it was.
And I think it was the guy who proposed, wasn't it?
Yeah, like Ian Johnson or something.
Yeah, something like that. We don't gotta look it up. It's not really a big deal.
But yeah, so that's my wild.
He was a one-hit wonder, pretty much.
Or was that the kicker?
I don't know.
That's my tinfoil hat. It's rigged. I think he deserved it, but Genty wins the Heisman because they want to create a situation where more people in college football are doing big things.
Do you think Travis Hunter deserves it more so than Ashton Genty? I know that you're not the biggest.
I think Travis Hunter is an elite athlete, great player, but Ashton Genty is literally doing things that haven't been done since Barry Sanders was in school. Like, I respect the heck out of what Travis Hunter has done as far as playing both ways and everything else.
He's also been doing things that haven't been done in a while.
Longer than Barry Sanders, like maybe in about 60 or 70 years
we've
playing both ways,
we've had guys play both ways.
Aqib Talib was the last guy to have 4 interceptions and 4 touchdowns in a season, and that was 20 or 30 years ago.
Yeah, but I mean, this is like a lot more success than that.
I would agree. I agree with that. But also, we would have to go look at Aqib Talib's utilization.
That's true.
On both sides of the field.
Fair enough.
And then also, who was the quarterback? I don't even remember where Aqib Talib went to school. Kansas. Okay, so you're right. Who was the quarterback throwing to him at that point in time? Max has got Boise State as well. We'll move on to the AAC. We've got Tulane taking on Army. Tulane comes in ranked number 17. Max has got the Green Wave.
Yeah, I'm going to take Tulane. I think they're still fighting at potentially an outside playoff. I don't think it's likely, but Tulane, what they've been able to do with their first year without Willie Fritz, it's been pretty. John Summerall, I believe, is the head coach over there, doing some good things. So I think they'll be able to take down Army.
Jamal's chiming in. He says Miles Jack. So Miles Jack also had.
He played running back and linebacker.
Okay, so he had 4 receiving touchdowns and So there you go. Appreciate that, man. He went to UCLA. Jamal Smith, man. He is hit him up on Facebook if you need some good pictures taken. Who'd you say you have, Tulane as well?
Yeah, I'm taking the Green Wave.
All right, then we'll move on to the Big 12 Championship. You can listen to this game right here on ESPN Northwest Florida. Iowa State, the Cyclones coming in ranked at number 18, and the Arizona State Sun Devils coming in ranked at number 16. Maybe one of the more so. I think when it comes to the Big 12, right, I don't think Clemson is as much as a surprise in the ACC championship, right, as SMU is. SMU is absolutely a surprise for it being first year. Texas and Oregon, I don't think are big surprises, even though they're first year newcomers to their conferences. But Iowa State, Arizona State, Big 12 championship coverage starting at.
It's typically the new or the 11.
Yeah. Thank you for that, because I was about to say 6:30 on Friday. No, it's going to be at 10 a.m. coverage starting 11 a.m. kickoff for Iowa State, Arizona State, Big 12 championship. Arizona State favored by 2 points, 50.5 total. And Max is taking the Cyclones. I know you're going with Kenny Dillingham, but tell us why.
They're going to be playing indoor at Jerry's World. I think Iowa State's going to be a little bit more of like a ground and pound. I think Arizona State kind of wants to open it up a little bit. I know they have a great running back there, Scadaboo, over there in Tempe, but I think Dillingham's just got his boys playing some pretty good football right now, and I think they'd take down Iowa State.
Oh, would you care to take a second to respond to this comment from Eric?
Always.
He says, this dude has no idea what he's talking about. Okay. There's absolutely no question that Travis Hunter is the best football player in the country. There's a reason why I'm going to let you to respond to this, too, to kind of show, to reiterate what you said just a few minutes ago as well, because I know exactly what you're going to respond to this this particular comment with. He says, Travis Hunter is the best football player in the country football player, and he's playing like a grown man on both sides of the ball. Come on now. He says he's a Hurricane fan, and he would love to see Cam Ward get nominated, but there's no way that he should win it. Your thoughts, your response to that comment from Eric with an A.
Hey, I mean, he's entitled to his opinion. I mean, I think Ashton.
Okay, so can I say what I thought you were gonna say was?
I mean, if somebody wants to sit here and try to say, "Oh, he doesn't know what he's talking about," like that's.
Well, we know there's a reason why he's on with.
I'm not saying I know.
You don't got to stick up for yourself. I got you on that part of it. Tyler knows what he's talking about. My thing, and the thing, guys, in the world of sports, as you all know, or I would at least hope that you know, is this is all purely opinion. There's not one person in the world of sports who sits and talks in front of a microphone or sits in front of a webcam and talks, or you talking with your buddies at the bar. None of you guys are always right. Like I've never always been right. I'll be the first person to tell you that I'm probably not going to be right about a lot of stuff, but I just formulate my opinions because I watch the stuff the same way that you guys do. Tyler does know his college football. And he'll let you know when he doesn't know something, especially about other sports, right? Because college football is his bread and butter. My thought process on how you were going to respond to that was the whole setup behind Ashton Jeanty was what you were trying to say is with college football
expanding and trying to get more guys involved.
Exactly.
And I believe that could play a role. I mean, the guy's rushed for over 2,000-something yards. Like, he's on pace to break Barry Sanders' record that's been held since the 80s. Let's not act like he's just doing normal things. I mean, sure, is he playing lesser competition? Maybe. But, like, nobody else has done it, right? Like, it's not normal for guys to rush for over 2,000-something yards. If he had these stats at a higher-tier team, I don't think it's even, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think it's a pretty
He's
decent.
playing against lesser competition, but he also has lesser competition blocking for him. Less competition, wide receivers going out to catch the ball or quarterbacks so they can stack a box against him. You know what I'm saying?
And I think my biggest issue is, like, Travis Hunter has some pretty good stats, but they're also throwing him touchdown passes up like 45-0 late in games to make those stats look better. So if you want to watch the games and say, like, and they ran like a reverse to him up 3 touchdowns against Utah with like 2 minutes in the game, like, so those stats look great on paper, but like he's not making. I mean, I'm not saying he's not making plays.
It's like garbage time.
There's also garbage time stats being thrown in there. That's great. Like, I'm not knocking Travis Hunter. He's a good, very good player. Is he the best wide receiver in the country? Probably not. Is he the best defensive back in the country? Maybe, maybe not. So, like, he's not the best at either one of those positions, according to most people.
Right.
So, like, is being good at 2 positions better than being the leading rusher in yards after contact would be the next high? Like,
I think that this Heisman race is going to be a lot closer than what people give it credit for, because I think so many people have Travis Hunter running away with it, and I think that there is a reality where Ashton Jeanty can win it. I do think Travis Hunter will win it. I don't think that either player deserves it over the other, because both of them are. I wish that you could have like that co-Heisman moment, but I don't think that it's fair to do that with such a prestigious award. I also think Cam Ward absolutely deserves to be in New York.
For sure.
But the thing that daggum stinks about that is the whole thing is it's your whole season, and you go 1-2 in your final 3 games. Like, I don't know. That just doesn't scream Heisman to me. Now, how much of a fault is that of Cam Ward's? I don't think very much. Wait, was it? I didn't get to watch very much of the Syracuse game.
It was like 42-38 or something like that.
And then Syracuse just held on to that was the final score. I know that, but I think
they were at like 21 points at one point.
Yeah,
like Miami was.
Yeah, so I guess you got to put more of the onus there on the defense of the Hurricanes. And I think Dylan Gabriel deserves to be there. Yeah. I think that you lead a team to an undefeated season. There's a lot of times where in the third quarter, I mean, one of the biggest games, I watched a lot of the Michigan game, Oregon-Michigan game, and the Oregon-Illinois game. Midway through the third quarter, or midway through the second quarter, all they were doing was just running the ball against Illinois. So, like, sometimes to look at it, now I'm not saying Dylan Gabriel deserves to win or really even be top anything higher than 4 in that discussion, but I would definitely throw him into the ring to go to New York.
Yeah, and I think my biggest thing is, like, anybody who thinks the race is decided today, I would disagree. We went into the conference championship game last year, and it was Penix versus Bo Nix. Winner of that game was going to win the Heisman, and Jaden Daniels ended up winning. So, we'll see. Right. You never know how these voters are going to go. I mean, I could see there's a lot of people who don't vote for Travis Hunter for reasons maybe outside of Travis Hunter's control because of Dion. Maybe I don't know how, you know.
And I don't like that.
I don't like it either. I'm not saying it's right.
Yeah.
But I think if you don't truly respect what Ashton Jeanty is doing, which I think a lot of like former players and other people do, to write him off is just.
I do agree with that too.
You know.
Yeah. I think point blank period, what both of those two athletes are doing, and Travis Hunter and Ashton Jeanty, absolutely phenomenal. Great for college football, and I think that what's awesome about it, even more so, is with Boise State. They've had some runs and stuff, but for them to be in this conversation, looking at the college football playoff and having a Heisman hopeful, that's awesome for the sport. And then Colorado, for them to have the year that they had last year and to bounce back to this.
Yeah. And I would say if Colorado's playing this weekend with a chance to win a college football playoff spot, I would feel really I would feel awful about Genty's chance. But with Jeanty having a chance to secure a playoff spot for his team while Travis Hunter sits at home, I think it's possible.
He gets the extra game, right? He gets that game number 13. We've got Eric with an A on the line with us. Eric with an A, go ahead, my friend.
What's going on? It's the bad guy, man.
Hey, you're not the bad guy, brother. We're just responding, brother. Hey, this is what sports is about.
No, listen, man. We're the convicts, brother. We love.
Gotcha. You're playing the role, playing the villain.
We're the convicts, bro. Hey, no, I have to say, you definitely have some points about the kid. Is it Gentry or Genty?
Genty.
Genty.
It would be like Gen Z, but you're saying Genty.
Okay. Anyway, he has been pulling some amazing plays. He has. I mean, that dude, he is doing something else. But here's my question to you, okay? If you want to say that Travis Hunter isn't the best at wide receiver or the best at corner, all right. But what if he divided how much attention he was spending doing either one of those things? He would be the best at that. If it was wide receiver or if it was corner, he's splitting his time. He's working with both the defense, and the thing that blows me away the most about the kid is how long he can go, bro.
And that's awesome.
This dude is just, it's inhuman. I mean, personally, I agree with the Boise State kid is awesome. I can't wait to see what he does in the pros. And I honestly, I was just busting your bees. Don't know nothing.
So I guess my point, we can assume that maybe Hunter would be the best wide receiver, but we don't know that. And so, we can make assumptions, but do we want to base the Heisman on what we think his potential would be on one side or the other, or do we want to base it on, and again, the number of snaps he plays is incredible. The way he plays on both sides, he plays extremely well. But, if you want to start throwing in hypotheticals, is that what we really want the Heisman to be based on?
Yeah, it's the best football player, bro.
Well, it's not the best football player.
Can you take your Boise State running back and put him at corner and have him cover somebody? This is the best football player.
But so here's what my response to that would be: if Travis Hunter solely played defensive back, if he solely played cornerback, he's not even in the discussion right now for Heisman. He has to have the offensive side of the ball, at least something.
Yes.
So, and then for him to be a wide receiver, when was the last time we had a wide receiver win? Devontae Smith
was basically the only one.
Yeah, and that was the COVID year, right?
I guess first of all, the Heisman is not the best player because there's no way the best player is always a quarterback or a running back. It's the best offensive player that gets enough, whose team wins enough to be mentioned. If we're being honest, that's what the Heisman has become, and that's fine. But I think Ashton, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, this was a terrible decision if Hunter wins it. I think he's a great player. I'm not necessarily arguing. I just don't think it's a lock, and I think Genty's got a fighting chance.
Yeah. Well, hey, only time will tell.
Yes,
and, the other thing I will say about Hunter that has blown me away is his hands. Man, those catches that he's making with other dudes' hands in his, in between.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, I'd love to see him spend all his time at wide receiver. I don't think they'll let him, though, because he's also too good he's better than any other best defenders. So you got no choice.
And he also uses those hands not just to make interceptions, but I've seen him knock out quite a few fumbles in very opportune times for the other team. All the way across the board. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things is the fact that he's doing this for Deion Sanders, who was, like that in the NFL. And I think that is really awesome. And the fact that marriage, if you will, that combination is that we're able to witness it.
Well, that's what he told him. That's
off.
how he got him to Jackson State. Was, hey, I'm Dion. I can get you here where I was. Go ahead.
It's definitely it's paid off for all of them. That's for sure.
100%.
And it could be bringing in the hardware. I don't think anyone would be surprised if either one of those two guys end up winning the Heisman.
All right.
Yep. Hey,
so let me ask you this: Who thinks my Hurricanes are going to make the playoffs? Give me some hope, guys.
I will say
no hating.
Okay.
Do you want false hope or do you want realistic hope?
I'll break it down this way.
I only roll with the truth. That's it.
So I think there is a chance that Miami is ranked above Bama at 12 or 11-12 tonight.
Yeah.
With the chance of the committee wanting to take out the decision of which 3-loss SEC team do we put in. By putting Miami at the last spot, they give themselves either Clemson wins and they put Clemson and SMU in, or they leave Miami in and SMU wins. And so the ACC gets their 2 representatives. They're not having to make a decision between 3-loss SEC teams. And it takes a lot of the burden out of their hands. They take the easy way out. Maybe we want to call it the coward's way out. But by leaving Miami as the last team in, either Clemson wins and jumps them and knocks them out, or Clemson loses and Miami sneaks in there. And it takes a lot of the decision making. Like that way you don't have Bama, South Carolina, Ole Miss fans all fighting, oh, no, we deserve to. So there is a scenario, I think, in which Miami is there tonight. If they're not there tonight, they're obviously SOL.
Yeah.
But I think the Vegas odds had him at like minus 800 to not make the playoff.
I don't know, though, because if SMU beats Clemson, then Clemson has three losses, right?
Well, Clemson already has 3. They're only in if they win.
So then it's the other way. If Clemson beats SMU,
then Clemson and SMU are both in. Because Clemson would be the ACC champ, so they would get a berth, and then SMU would not fall behind Miami in my opinion.
Oh yeah, you got it. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's.
There's one spot up for grabs between Bama, Clemson, Miami, South Carolina, and
Ole Miss. And I mean, that's pretty much it. Pretty much it. Those are your 4 teams that are kind of on the outside looking in. Clemson is the only team with an opportunity to actually do something about it.
Clemson's the only one that controls their own destiny out of that group.
It's going to be a wild last weekend, man. We thought,
we'll know a lot tonight after the rankings, obviously.
Yeah, this will be our most our closest preview to what the final will look like, and they're still going to be jockeying after the conference championship weekend this coming Saturday. Eric with an A, my man, thanks so much for the call, and I'll even give you a Go Canes, my friend.
Go Canes, baby, go Canes.
Hey, there you go. 850-215-6290. We've got one segment left to go. We'll try to knock some more of these picks out, but your calls always prioritize what it is that we're doing here on this show. Thank you guys for listening. We'll be right back here in just a few short moments.
Weather in the Panhandle never stops. Turn to 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with your latest forecast.
We're up to the minute weather reports all day long.
A chance of thunderstorms and moderate rain.
In-depth storm coverage.
Hurricane Helene.
And breaking weather as it happens.
We do have a tropical storm warning.
ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida. Here is your weather forecast on this Tuesday evening. As we head into tonight, clear skies and a low of 39 with a light wind at 7 miles per hour coming out of the east-northeast. For tomorrow morning, sunshine and a temp near 57. In the afternoon and evening, clear and a high around 62. For Thursday, very light showers and a high of 69. This weather forecast is brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Hey folks, Chris Kramer with Bill Kramer GM. And the best place to listen to the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey is inside a brand new vehicle from Bill Kramer GM. And I want you to know we've got 10 times the amount of inventory on the ground as we did this time last year, and darn near all of them are discounted. So shop us online at BillKramerGM.com or visit the corner of Frankfurt and 23rd. We'll make it easy and take great care of you.
Hello, Tracy's Fine Jewelry.
Hello, Tracy. It's Santa. I'm so busy this year, I really could use your help.
Absolutely, Santa. I'm happy to help.
This year, I want to make sure everyone gets what they ask for, and I know Tracy's Fine Jewelry has the largest selection at the lowest prices.
We sure do, Santa. We have some of the hottest trending styles around, and our cases are packed full of great deals.
Ho, 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 Tracy, I knew you wouldn't let me down.
Folks, shop where Santa shops at Tracy's Fine Jewelry.
Johnson on a drive. Oh, he jammed it with the right hand.
It's a top 10 clash at Cameron. Number 2 Auburn. Number 9 Duke.
Pettiford with 9 to shoot. Logo 3, bang! That was a dagger. Broom down the lane to the hole. Dumps it with 2 hands. Hard goes Dumpson. Oh, dear goodness.
Coverage begins at 7:45 Central tomorrow night on your home for the Tigers.
ESPN Northwest Florida, War Eagle.
Pound the like and crush the subscribe. Follow us on social media for the latest sports news, scores, and updates. Keeping you in the game. Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs, ESPN Northwest Florida.
Welcome back. This is the final segment of this Tuesday afternoon here on ESPN Northwest Florida. It's the Afternoon Underdogs. I'm David Hayes along with Tyler Bishop and Caveman Rick. Right after this, I'm heading up there to Harders Park for the the opening game of the flag football season for our flag football team Dynasty. Hopefully those youngins are warmed up and ready to go. They're going to be getting there at about 6:30, but it is going to be quite chilly tonight. So you got any of those hand warmers left over,
I got
bro?
a couple of the carving.
My goodness, man. And the funny thing is really not like temperature-wise, not all that cold, but you know
that
how
wind
it
starts
is.
kicking a little bit, the sun goes down. Yes, sir.
Yes, sirree, indeed. All right, let's try to get a few more of these picks knocked out. Where'd we leave off with? Ohio. Yep. Ohio at Miami of Ohio. This is a little MACtion Conference Championship game here. Red Hawks? Miami, Ohio Red Hawks, right? Yeah. They are 2.5 point. Bobcats. Yeah, Bobcats. Minus 2.5 is what the Red Hawks are. 44.5 is the total. Max has got the Red Hawks of Miami of Ohio, the home of Big Ben Roethlisberger.
Give me Miami of Ohio just because they're favored, and I honestly I could not say.
You didn't watch enough Tuesday night football this year?
Of Miami and Ohio. I don't know what I'm talking about. You know,
numbers. I don't even know why I'm giving out the rankings. They're all about to change in less than an hour here. So Georgia at Texas. Texas a 2.5 point favorite. 49.5 is the point total. They've already played this game once. What was the score? 30 to 15.
Yep.
And this was in Austin the first time, but now it's going to be a little bit closer to Athens over there, the Mercedes-Benz Dome there in Atlanta. Who do you got winning this game? Max is rolling with the Dogs.
You couldn't pay me to pick against. I mean, you could probably pay me, but I'm not going to pick against Georgia without money on the line. Funny story though, like Texas is the home team. Sarkisian chose to wear the road whites. Because he wanted to treat it like a true road game. Like he's trying to sell it to us. He's like, hey, they came into our house, now we're going into theirs.
Yeah, that's not a bad mentality.
I respect it a lot from a motivational standpoint.
Better wear white gloves.
Yeah,
on the defense.
And white shoes too, right?
Yes, sir. So I really do kind of respect that from Sark trying to play that angle. Again, I think it's one of those games like either Georgia shows up from the get-go and I think they can handle Texas, or Georgia doesn't show up like we've seen them do many times this year, and they get in too big of a hole, kind of like what we saw with A&M this past week.
Mm-hmm.
But Texas struggled to put A&M away. I mean, they struggled to put Arkansas away. Obviously, they lost to Georgia. So they've had some issues as well. It's not like Texas is flawless by any means.
We think of Texas as this like offensive juggernaut, but that's really not the case. Their defense is tremendous, and they can score a little bit. But
this is going to be kind of blasphemous to the Chiefs, but like almost like the Chiefs. Like we think about them for their offense, but their defense has been carrying the load.
Yeah, for 2 years now for the Kansas City Chiefs.
So I'm not saying Quinn Ewers is Pat Mahomes. I'm not saying they have a Travis, but I'm saying in the minds of people, it's like, oh, Sarkisian offense. But it's the defense that's really been carrying them in a lot of ways.
But for the Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes turns into a different animal in the postseason. Does Quinn Ewers turn into a different man in the postseason? Not like he's been playing bad, but it's pedestrian. Like
he had those 2 bad turnovers late in the game last week to give A&M some legitimate hope there late, and they squandered that. But we'll see.
Yeah, always switch to Arch.
You do have that in your back pocket, and we talked a little bit about that. Might have been off air. I think it was in your minute with Max, but just the decision, not the decision to go for it. You need to go for it there, 4th and goal. But why are you running out of shotgun?
They should have. They should have kicked it. They were down 10 points. They should have kicked.
Yeah. Okay. I'm fine with that too. I'm also fine with
the
you.
Play call. They lined it like they hadn't been over on the ball all night. They get in a tight formation, try to run it straight in the middle. Like, why would you think that? And you have a very mobile quarterback. Let him get on the edge. Give him that run pass option there.
That's exactly what I would have done.
I've got the familial ties to him, but that was a terrible play.
I would have stayed aggressive. And normally I'm the conservative, but when you're down by 10 late in the game, I don't think that I'm playing just to be down by 7. I want to be down to where it's tough. And normally I don't. Normally I'm on the side with you. Kick it, get your points. Let's go back and play a little bit of defense. But had they scored the touchdown, I think that tremendously changes the momentum, and then it gets the 12th man back into everything.
It's one of those, like, if it works, it's great. If it doesn't, people second guess.
And it didn't work at all.
That's
but
why
not just
paid
the fact
$10 million to make those decisions.
There you go. We'll go to the Sun Belt Championship game. Max has got Georgia in the SEC Championship game. Marshall at Louisiana here. Louisiana 5.5-point favorite, and the total sitting at 56.5. We're not going to be able to finish that, so don't even worry about picking that game. Penn State, Oregon, who you got in that one?
James Franklin's still the Penn State coach?
Yeah.
Give me Oregon.
Give you Oregon.
That's all I need.
And then this game will be here on ESPN. Obviously, the SEC Championship game will be airing on ESPN Northwest Florida, and so will the ACC Championship. Number 12, Clemson. Number 9, SMU. Again, these rankings are going to be changing here soon. SMU, 2.5-point favorite. This game will start at 7 p.m. here on ESPN Northwest Florida. Max is taking the Tigers.
I am too. I don't love the pick, but I think the line's kind of low, which makes me feel a little fishy.
I'm rooting for SMU, baby. Depending on what happens
I think
tonight.
there's something to be said for a team and a program that has been there before, as opposed to SMU, who has not been there at this level. And I think sometimes that can, for the preparation, everything else can be a big deal.
Let's rattle through these NFL games real quick. Packers, Lions. Max has got the Lions. Falcons, Vikings. Kirk Cousins headed back to Minnesota.
Baby.
Yep, you got the Vikings. So does
I
Max.
can see Kirk Cousins' comeback game.
They need it, bro. Yeah. Oh, if not, he is getting traded to, I guess he wants a contender, so we'll see. Seahawks, Cardinals.
Give me the Cards at the house. Kyler Murray's playing some fun ball.
Max as well. Bears, 49ers. Christian McCaffrey basically out for the season. Jordan Mason hits IR, and they just picked up another running back, Abracadabra. I don't know what his last name, how you pronounce it, but who you got? Bears, 49ers.
Bears get the fired head coach bump and beat the Niners.
Oh, doggy. All right. Chargers, Chiefs.
Got to pick the Chiefs.
Oh, Max picks against his Bears. He took the 49ers.
That's the emotional hedge.
I wish I would have had him do that on air. Chargers, Chiefs. Max has got the Chiefs. And then Monday Night Football, a snoozer, but it will be here on ESPN Northwest Florida. Bengals and the Cowboys.
I saw the Bengals have scored 33 points in 4 games that they lost.
Yeah.
It's incredible. I think they've got to break that streak at some point, so I think they'll score.
What better team to do it?
Exactly. Than Jerry Jones and the Cowboys, baby.
All right, got about a minute here, right, Caveman Rick? Let me know your quick thoughts here on the flag planting situation. What was your reaction as that was happening Saturday? About 2 minutes, actually.
You had 60 minutes to defend your turf. You lost.
Yeah.
So, at that point, you're just pouting. You know, and I'm not saying I haven't been in that situation emotionally or whatever, but, you're just pouting at that point. This is our house. Man, drop all that nonsense. Y'all lost. Take your L, go home. Go back to the locker room. I thought it was kind of interesting that Texas did it after A&M left the field. They stomped on the logo or whatever. So if you're going to do it with the other teams out there. But whatever. I think, I don't know. I get it. You want to talk a little trash. The planting of the flag doesn't bother me. It's not hurting anybody. It's not whatever. It's just hey, we won. This is so the victor goes to spoils. It's been that way since the beginning of time, right? Mm-hmm. Conquerors get the land that they won, and just. Get up. I mean, we've seen other teams do it. Florida State does the sod cemetery.
Just don't plant it on turf.
Yeah,
make sure it's in grass.
But Florida State doesn't have an issue with the sod cemetery thing, but you can't come in and stake. Yeah. I mean, and for Norvell to throw the flag, I think it's you need to kind of rise above that. I know a lot of Florida State fans love it. It shows some fire. But I think as the head coach, you probably somewhere between Norvell and Day, because they just stood off to the side and watched. Norvell got in the middle of it. I think you need to be a little bit more of a calming presence, but actually doing something about it.
Hey, Tyler, as always, your takes going up on a Tuesday. We do appreciate it. For Caveman Rick, Tyler Bishop, I'm David Hayes. Just remember, Jesus loves you, and so do I. And coming up next, we'll get you to Paul Feinbaum for a little bit. And if you're bored and you want to be freezing cold, come out there to Harders Park and watch Team Dynasty take on Cat 5. We'll see you guys tomorrow at 4. Coach James Hale Show coming up at 7 in the morning. And then the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey, Jay Henley from 11 to 1.
ESPN Northwest Florida presents the most college basketball.
Three-pointer. College basketball is back.
The Panhandle